Hey, is this thing on? Lance, Nick, ready? Can you hear me? Welcome to the Live Free and Hunt podcast. Alrighty then, Live Free and Hunt podcast, episode 26. And guess what? It's turkey season.
It was a great podcast. We had Ed Ash and Edward Ash, father and son.
Yeah.
And Edward, the father, was telling some great stories, hunting tactics, and Ed being a champion, national
champion.
Calling champion was just great here, having him display some of the calls that he has in his case, and it was just all around good. A lot of hunting tactics going on in this one, a lot of call tactics going on, and we're definitely looking forward to having him back here in mid-season to give some updates on what's working for them.
It's
what's going to work for them.
It's getting close. The first part of this podcast, we kind of shot the shit. Second part of this podcast, after the pee break, if you guys can hang tight, we got into more tactics and calling sequences and.
But don't skip out on that first part there.
No,
there's a lot of good tips and some stories.
Good stories.
And we just get a good visual on what these guys are all about. These just some great guys that live up north and that seen a lot, done a lot. So we're pumped.
Let's do it.
Let's get to it.
You're like a bad deck of cards that loves to lose. You don't listen to me, and I don't want you to, 'cause we sure have fun throwing my money away. You bet high, I bet low. You're all in and I'm all broke. Another paycheck down the drain.
All right, Live Free and Hunt podcast, episode 28, 29, 30. I don't know which one
20,
it is.
yeah, something. It doesn't matter.
Let's go around the table. Who we got?
Lance.
Tyler.
Ed Ash. Edward Ash.
Ooh, here we go. We're going to talk
Father
some
and
turkeys.
son.
Yeah, father and son.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to get in some turkey talk. It's almost turkey season, about a month away, even less than a month away now.
Oh, yeah.
But I've been seeing birds on the sides of the road, going to work. They're still kind of in big flocks around here,
big time.
Lots of hens. Yeah. But every morning, they're out there, and it's coming.
Good population of jakes this year, too, I've been noticing.
Yeah.
A lot of birds I've just seen has been jakes. It's going to be a good year. It's going to be a fun year. You're going to hear a lot of action in the woods, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
This is the kind of year I like to find a bunch of neighborhood kids that really don't have an opportunity to get out, because when they can get out there and get into a bunch of jakes and they're all going nuts and they're making and they're gobbling and everything, whether they kill one or not really doesn't matter. It's just a fact that that's something that they've never ever heard.
Right.
And
To be up close in the woods with that.
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Hear that ground shake.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's more than just turkeys. You go out and you see all kinds of activity with owls, moose, deer.
They're
It's
all
unbelievable.
Everybody's coming out of the woodworks. Yeah.
Tucking out my cousin before when we've had raccoons run by his feet. We're like, holy smokes, what is that? Pitch black out still. And it's like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
It's just
Exactly.
been good. But, let's get right into this, though. We definitely want to hear how you guys were brought up hunting. We'll start off with you first, Edward.
Well, since I was a little kid, much like a little bit today, I wasn't always into learning about the outdoors. I was the average kid where you just sit in your house and you play video games and goof around, stuff like that. But what happened was my dad has always been into the outdoors since he was a kid. And, when I look at the outdoors, when I looked at it back then, it was always intriguing to learn about what the wildlife is like. But whenever you watch the TV shows, the movies, and those educational videos at school, you often wonder how it must be like in real life. People think that, it's not a big deal. It's just something you watch on TV every day. But when you're actually out there,
It's a different story.
it's a hell of a different story. And
You live in it.
when I started out there, my dad took me when I was like, 4 or 5 years old. Took me on my first fishing derby where I caught a whole bunch of fish and learned the experience. Now, I technically didn't start hunting until I was like 9, but I think when I started at 5 years old, my dad's been taking me out years ago. We used to have English setters for dogs. They were some of the best bird hunting dogs ever.
Oh, yeah.
And I would watch him harvest woodcock, rough grouse, even snowshoe hares. And when I was young, I wasn't always into it because, I was just getting into video games and toys and all that. But the more I watched it and the more we went to different places, it was like a whole different world. You go out there and you learn the experience and how it is, and it's just unbelievable to what the outdoors can bring you. So when I was 9, he took me on my first hog hunt when it was in April, and took us out on a popular place. I don't think they have it anymore in New York. But when I was young, I shot my first boar, and that was a pretty good experience. So when we went out and we hog hunt in the next decade a couple times, it's always something to learn about. But after that, when May came around, it was the beginning of an era for my dad and I. He would take me out bird hunting with the turkeys, and I wasn't necessarily thinking at that point that I won't be able to get a turkey, but, we got to at least try. So we got to work hard for it. When I started turkey hunting with my dad, the turkeys, when I first watched them on TV, I remember the old days. I mean, I remember watching it on VHS when that was still a popular.
HS Strut.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
HS Strut. I've met some of those guys.
HS
Matt
Strut,
Moret.
Will Primos.
Yeah.
They
And
make it look so easy.
Oh, man. You can see
It
out
always-
west, they're always coming in on a string.
Yeah.
big
all
time.
the time. Big
But,
flocks and
when, as the old saying goes, you made 100 successes, but you made 1,000 failures.
right.
So you're always going to learn something no matter what. So when my dad took me out for the first time, I've had opportunities to shoot at a tom, but either I was just too scared, too nervous. But
Dude,
when I was-
I've been there. I know exactly.
Choke up.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm gonna get sick.
Yeah. Being a kid, yeah, I remember that.
But
Your
it's,
stomach
it,
always
it
hurt.
can be one hell of an adrenaline rush because when I was just young, I never shot a shotgun before. So when he took me out on my first turkey hunt, I shot my first Jake, and that was just something that we learned. And then a year later, I shot my first tom. And the interesting story about that was when I shot my first tom, what happened was I was sitting in his lap. He was helping me raise my gun up. And here comes a bunch of hens, and I see this big old straying tom, and I'm thinking, oh, this is finally my chance to
Yeah.
get one of those big boys that you see
Yeah.
on TV.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there as still as a statue, not moving at all. And because, being a kid back then, you're sitting perfectly still, and you do not want to
You don't want to move, yeah.
You do not want to move. So when that bird came in, and he landed with my shotgun, boom! And I'm jumping up, and the first thing I felt was right in the back of my head. I'm thinking, what the heck was that? I run down. I'm happy as hell. I finally got my bird, but I asked my dad, Dad, why'd you hit me? He said, no, that was a turkey. I was like, what? The turkey. Come to find out, while I was sitting there on my dad's peripheral vision, to the left, he can barely see this Jake coming up behind us. We were sitting so perfectly still that Jake was paying attention to the hens and the Tom walking right in. We didn't even realize it. I didn't know about it until my dad told me, but my dad was looking to the left, and he saw that Jake looking back and forth thinking, oh, my God, are these
Here we
guys going
go.
to come
Yeah,
to us?
yeah,
So
here
when,
we go.
so when that shotgun ran up, that Jake flustered out of there, and he hit me in the back
Slapped
of
you
the
in the
head
back
with
of
a
the
hat.
head.
So,
We just heard that story. We were talking about that story outside before we started
it's
the podcast.
moments like that-
It's friggin' awesome.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's moments like that when you're a kid that you get to live and tell the tale.
Yeah.
Because not just when you're a kid, but it's something that you've never had encountered before. It's just an experience, and it just gives you a great memory. So
Just
Yeah.
making memories. That's what
exactly.
it's all
So
about.
for the
Right.
next decade, it's always been one hell of a fun adventure, going back and forth and working hard to learn the outdoors and how it begun. And I couldn't be happier with being in the outdoors this day. So everything's been going pretty well so far. And when I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome at a young age of 5, it's always been a challenge for me. When I was young, I wasn't exactly sure what was going on because being a kid, you still get to learn a lot of experiences and everything. when the doctors told me that, that it might be impossible for you to be able to function properly, that became a huge challenge at first. But, with the amount of time I spent with my family and understanding what the outdoors is like, it became my education basically on being in the outdoors and learning how to hunt, fish, and properly train to be what everybody out there in the country has been for the past couple centuries. So
That's great, dude. That's great.
I'll give you a little bit of background on Ed. I was going to the Yankee Classic over to Vermont for many years. And I'd drive over there all by myself. I'd ask 2 or 3 friends, you want to go? Nah, I'm busy today. All right, I went anyways. So he's getting to be 12, 13 years old. And this was the most incredible thing. When I first started turkey hunting, I basically got into using a mouth diaphragm call, not for turkeys, because I wanted to go on an elk hunt to Montana. So that's how I started using a mouth diaphragm call. Then I progressed into turkeys. So I'm over to New York, and this particular day, after getting permission from this farmer, I get down in the field, and I wait, and I do all of my owl calls and crow calls and everything I'm doing. And then next thing, the world lights up. I've got 5 jakes on the edge of this field going absolutely nuts. And I'm thinking, I'm the man of the world. Every time I throw out a call, these guys are gobbling their fool heads off, right?
Man.
Well, little did I know I wasn't the man of the world, because when they flew down, they decided, see you later, pal.
Yeah.
So it was like the learning curve that everybody has to go through. But there was a big Tom that worked his way into that field, and those jakes came in, and I got to enjoy watching a real-life turkey fight after not really knowing what turkeys were, because in New Hampshire at that time we had very
scarce.
few,
Very scarce, yeah.
Right?
When I got into it the same way.
What happens is I sat down and tried to pay my dues, thinking to myself, I've already got turkeys here, so why go look for some more? I just got to see if I can be smart enough to be able to work them in. Well, as the morning progressed, this big boy comes back into the field, and I'm trying my mouth diaphragm call, and I'm back to being king of the world, because when I call, he'd gobble. He was strutting, he's staying out in the field, and everything's going well. And then finally, there's this high-pitched, big mouth hen. There he goes, going across the field, and nuts. So I'd start calling, trying to do the same thing that guy was doing, but I'm not very good at a mouth diaphragm call.
Yeah.
But evidently I was good enough, because he'd come halfway back to me. So for probably about half an hour, 40 minutes, this turkey's gone partway across the field, back to me, back and forth, back and forth. But this big mouth hen's going to win out, because these calls are coming out like you will not believe. And then finally, as a turkey comes over, and I'm getting frustrated because he's just not quite within shotgun range for the 5th, 6th, 7th time, he turns and he starts walking back toward my new girlfriend up on the hill as she's getting really, really yelping, really aggressive. And I hit him with a, because I worked at a turkey farm as a young boy, and I went, wonder if he remembers this. All of a sudden, his head comes around, looking in my direction, goes out of strut, pulls his wings in together, tail comes down, and here he comes. He's running right at me, running down over the hill. I'm thinking, whoa, I can't believe this. I'm already making out my tag. This is how much I'm thinking. Wait till my friends see this, right? And luckily enough, when he came to a halt, he realized, oop, that's not a turkey. And I ended up killing this bird. So I'm going out there, and I'm thinking to myself, here I am in New York State with nobody that I know, none of my friends that are turkey hunters yet. How do I explain to them what I just went through? They're never going to believe what I just did. And all of a sudden, like hearing God, you better not give that secret away. I turn and I look, and here's this gentleman standing behind me. Well, lo and behold, Eddie, who was it?
The one and only legendary Vermont turkey hunter, Bart Jacobs.
Bart Jacobs.
Oh, shit.
The maker of the one-hand turkey call, right?
Yep.
So we sat down on a log, and we chit-chatted for a while, and when I got ready to leave, he said, the one thing you got to remember, my friend. I said, what's that? He goes, pass it on. We've got to take this sport, and we've got to pass it on.
Yeah.
Well, as time goes by, I've turkey hunted and done a lot of different hunting of different states and everything. So this one particular time, I'm going to the Yankee Classic. I can't find anybody who wants to go with me. Ed, you want to go? And he said, yeah, I'll go. I said, all right, well, you got to get up a little earlier than you normally, so we're going to head out early. It's going to take us a couple hours because it's snowing out. So we drive over to Vermont, and we're standing there, and they're having a turkey calling contest. And I said, you ought to try that. He goes, Dad, I don't know how to do that. I went, yeah. So come upstairs. I showed him how to do something on a friction call and tried to do that. And I said, Cluck, when you look at me, I'll either give you a little nod or I'll turn your head, right?
So you signed him up for this.
So I signed him up, right?
You're going in.
Right. Eddie won.
Really?
First place in the Jakes division. This was the Bart Jacobs Memorial Hunt. They put this hunt together at Bart Jacobs. So the one man that I met, the first turkey I killed, he won his memorial.
That is awesome.
First
By
place.
him.
What is
by my son.
There's
No
something.
way.
So
There's
there's
something
something
about
to
that.
that.
There's
right?
something to
exactly.
that,
Yeah.
right? So, that's like finding the gold card, at the chocolate factory. But with that, from then on, he went. And 1 year, when he went over there and competed, Vermont had a program for their youth hunting camp or summer camp for youth, right?
Yeah.
And he won that. But he was from New Hampshire, so we had to work out the logistics, how he could go to that and everything, right? But the people he's met and the people that were going on, as a kid that was diagnosed with autism and Asperger's, we were told that he probably will never go to school.
Yeah.
He'll probably never drive a vehicle. He's in college. He has his own car. Actually, he has two.
He pulled in my driveway today.
Here he is slaying birds.
Right?
That's right.
So what happened was he found his niche. He found that thing that he liked to do, and that was turkey calling, going to the competition. He's been to the Grand Nationals in Nashville. The first time that he competed there-
Congratulations,
Oh my God.
man. This is
Yeah.
It
amazing,
was an
man.
amazing
And
experience.
the first time that he competed, he was kind of bummed out because he came in like 17th out of 25, and I told him, win, lose, or draw, you're at the Grand Nationals.
You're at
Yeah,
the
what are you
Super Bowl.
talking
You're at the
about?
Super
Yeah.
Bowl. You're at the
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
Of the
That's-
NWTF.
That year that he went, he actually won Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. So he represented the three New
England.
England states.
New England, yep.
The real
know,
Heck yes.
So I told him, I
Heck
said,
yeah.
So
Kid from
and-
Campton coming.
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So and then one
That's
day
awesome,
we're watching something on TV, and it's about Mount Washington, and the guy that started the Cog Railway, all right, was from Campton.
Yeah.
The Cog Railway was developed by somebody from Campton, And I told him, I said, do you know where we go over on this road and go down that road and we hunt? He said, yeah. He said, that's where Marsh was born. That's where he lived. That building's gone now and everything else. But the guy that started the cogs for the Cog Railway lived right here in Campton, and we hunt on that property.
That's
so I
awesome.
said, everywhere you go, no matter what you do in life, every day's a learning experience, and nothing
Every
you
day.
do can ever go wrong. You can't take away what you just learned. So,
That is
That's
amazing.
crazy.
That is
That's
awesome.
friggin' sweet.
yeah.
Can you go into just to put into perspective your first turkey hunt or your first season turkey hunting? What did that look like?
Well, I think for me especially, we had nobody around. Ted Walsky was the turkey biologist and basically told us we're never going to have turkeys where I lived because at the time I was living up in Littleton, moved to Lincoln. I now live in Campton, which is near Waterville Valley. You're never going to have turkeys. We didn't have no farmland. You have this and that. Well, that's gone now because we got turkeys in Canada, but in Pittsburgh. But
Yeah, they're everywhere.
they're everywhere.
Yep.
But
It's not a bad thing.
people's
no, it's not a bad
backyards.
thing.
They're
But
mainly
the thing
on the
was, you had
feeders, yeah.
nobody. Being from the north, you had nobody to teach you. Where the guys in the south were
Been
getting
doing it for years and
been
years
used,
and years.
using a snuff can, and we had no idea. When I first started using my mouth diaphragm call, working construction at this particular time, we were working on some buildings, doing some sheetrock, and I don't know, I probably gagged on that thing 5 or 6 times.
What are you doing?
Spit it out on the floor in a pile of joint compound dust. Rinse it off with my water, stick it back in my mouth. My teeth were gritty and everything, but after a while, it got to the point where it sounded like an elk, and that was doing good. And then one of the guys that went with me on my hunting trip to Montana actually lived in Castleton, where the first release site was, over to Hubbard National Forest,
Yeah.
and over near Castleton.
Yep.
And he said, well, when we get back, you'll have to come over and do some turkey hunting, and that's how I basically got started. But to go from one place and talk to somebody for an hour and get a call. This is my best call when I started out. And I would do it and do it and do it, and I'm thinking, well,
I
know,
feel like
the
that's
bird
still
gobble-
my best call.
But the thing is later on in life, I hear it, and I went, wow, you sucked. You know? But evidently, I had a bunch of deaf turkeys and turkeys that didn't know much more than I did at the time.
Yeah.
But it was amazing to be able to have a turkey respond, have a turkey come in. I can remember the very first time that I'm out there, I got my
What year?
shotgun.
What year did you start
Oh,
hunting
I'm talking
turkeys?
like 67, 68
Okay.
over in New York State.
Yep.
I've got my shotgun laying across my lap instead of on my knees.
Yeah.
I'm
Wrong
good.
move.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm awesome, right?
Yeah.
The turkey's coming in.
Never ready.
He's
Yeah.
strutting. He's strutting. I'm looking at him. I went, oh man, this guy's a monster, right?
Yeah.
He could have weighed 20 pounds. He could have weighed 5 pounds. He would have been a monster. It makes no
Right,
difference. He's
right.
right there in front of me, right? So I go and I reach down. I click off the safety. I move the gun maybe about 3/4 of an inch, and I'm looking at these leaves as they're rolling over like a dragster just went through the leaves. My turkey just went from full strut to bingo. He's gone. He's
The wind
flying.
took- yeah, the wind
wings are
took it.
smashing.
Yeah.
And it's like, what happened? How did it? So that was lesson number one. When I say move, don't. When I say don't move, don't move. Now, in this same particular area, later on in life, I become a hunter safety instructor. And the reason I did that, because in this same area I hunted year after year, it was an area with plateaus that ran into a dairy farm. So I go over there in the springtime. I got my decoy out. I'm hunting with the guy that invited me went with me to Montana. When
Need
suddenly
batteries.
the decoys back then were made out of plastic. They weren't
Yeah, yeah.
even anything functional like this. They were two flat pieces of plastic molded together. And we got the hens coming in, the birds gobbling, everything's going well. When all of a sudden, kaboom, down goes that decoy. All right? Guy shot right at us. We're leaned up against a ledge, so nobody
Shot
could
at
get-
your decoy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And knocked that hen decoy down. All right?
Jeez, I'm
So we got up and we had a few words with that gentleman, and the guy that I was with got really irate, and he said, I want your license. The guy goes, I'm not giving you my license. He goes, you're giving me my license whether I have to put the shotgun butt between your eyes and drag you out. You're giving me. So we turned his hunting license and our deceased decoy into the Vermont Fish and Game, and I came home thinking, man, that was close. That was just way too close.
Yeah.
Right?
You hear a lot of those
So-
stories, man.
Oh, man, it's really, really
unbelievable.
bad.
Yeah.
So then the following fall, I go back to the same area. Now, the ironic thing about this whole story was at one time, I wish I could still find it because I've had it for 100 years and I don't know where it is. I was the first non-resident to be able to shoot 2 turkeys in the spring and 2 turkeys in the fall. I was the first guy at the registration station from another state to do that.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Right? In the same year.
The little
right?
things, yeah.
The little things, right?
Yep.
But the following year, I go up there and I've been learning a lot more things simply because I didn't just hunt turkeys and go home. During the whole month of May, I'd grab a cup of coffee and a sandwich. I'd go out and sit on a stone wall. I'd listen to turkeys. It'd be 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I can tell you what a turkey's going to do at 2:30 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Most people basically go out, they shoot a turkey, they go home, they put the gun in the gun cabinet. That's the last time they go out until next year. They don't do their homework, and that's where you miss out on turkey hunting. You're going to find mushrooms. You're going to find
Fiddleheads.
fiddleheads. You're going to find all these things that are out in the woods as the season progresses. If you continue to spend the whole month using turkey season to learn what turkeys do. So what happened this particular fall, I go back to my spot. I'm on my ledge. I break up a flock of birds. So here's what a lot of people don't realize. In the fall, you're going to hear Kiki run, which is a young poult whistling back to the group. Because once you break up the flock, they've been together for weeks, months, all summer long. They want to get back together as a group, and you'll hear. And the hen, she'll start out with a real aggressive. She's telling them where I am. Well, I learned later on in life that if I was smart, I'd jump up, run off, chase her off, and sit down at the tree that she was near and become her.
Yep.
So now I would end up calling in that flock. Well, this particular day, the birds are coming in. I can see 1 or 2 come down through the trees, and they're working their way back in, and I'm hitting them with everything. Buck, buck, buck. And things are working. Suddenly, to my right, I see 2 big black turkeys. I went, ooh, those are toms. Those aren't little birds. Those are 2 toms. At the time in Vermont, you could kill both birds the same day.
Yeah.
All right. That's why I was so successful to bring 2 birds in the first non-resident, because I could shoot them both the same day. So these 2 turkeys came in. They're getting closer. They're getting closer. The other little poults, they're doing their whistling and doing their kiki, and these guys have not gobbled. They haven't done anything, but they're looking for that big mouth hen that I'm doing the hen assembly call. And so what happens
Answering
is
back to the
they
kiki.
finally came in, lined up. I pull the trigger. Kaboom! My birds go flopping down, and I hear the most blood-curdling scream of my life. All I could think of is I shot somebody. I think I just shot somebody. Come to find out, why I'm losing my little indentation behind a great big oak tree, I've got a man sneaking up behind me. As a resident, it only cost him $5 for a turkey tag. He's never turkey hunted before, but the turkey that he's trying to sneak up on is me, because I'm the one doing all the calling. So we sat down on a log. He decided to change his pants because he had a problem there. And
He shit himself.
Exactly. I gave him one of the turkeys so he could have it for Thanksgiving, and I took my other turkey and I went on my way. But when I came home, I decided I wanted to be a hunter safety instructor, because most of the people at that time that were trying to learn how to turkey hunt
Were stalking
were
turkeys?
stalking turkeys like you would if you were deer hunting.
Yeah.
And we were trying to break that ice. Rich LaValle from down to Webster right now. He lives in Webster. He was one of the guys that really took our area by storm, and I was driving all the way from Littleton all the way down there to be able to be a part of the Turkey Federation and what was going on. And we tried doing a trap and release, getting some birds that were over to Ware at trying to think of the Tractor Supply place. It's in Ware right now. It's a big one. But they were coming into the farm, into the silage bin, all right? And we were kind of wondering how much of this turkey manure is going to affect the cows and this and that. And we tried to get Ted Walsky to do a trap and release, and Ted was doing everything over on the west side of the state. So we ended up asking Eric off, because Eric was the one, the turkey was a biologist that
We've
used
had
to
him
trap,
on. Yep.
catch the ducks on the seacoast,
Yep.
for banding geese. So he knew about the cannon nets and everything. We just wanted to know where do we put the bait to be able to make it effective and this and that. That kind of frosted Ted's butt, because we asked somebody else in the Fish and Game Department other than him about doing it,
Yeah.
and we never did have a successful trap and release, so that never did pan out. But the bottom line with that is, over the years, the banquets that we've had and the things we've done is, there's, if we sell 18,000 turkey tags per year, we're lucky if we can get 300 people to a banquet
Yeah.
statewide with 9 different banquets.
Yeah.
But the education part, I think right now, is the most important thing about the turkey hunting, and it's not just educating turkey hunters; it's educating the public as to what's going on.
General, this past year, we talked about this last year also, is because of COVID, it was like
A lot of hikers.
hikers. Like
Hikers, hunters.
we would see
Yeah.
literally hikers on
Out in tote roads.
Yes.
Just like
Yeah.
tote roads out, like
Not a
people are
hiking
just
trail.
hiking
Not a-
just
not a
wherever
marked
they
hiking
can pull
trail.
over
Exactly.
and hike. And it's
Exactly.
like,
Yeah, that's exactly it.
and
pretty
so
much.
you're out there trying to get a bird off the roost. Everybody is.
Yeah. And what are you doing?
And then at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, you start seeing hikers come through, and which is fine.
Yeah.
It's all
Oh
public
yeah,
land.
it's public land, right?
Right.
But
I think you're gonna-
just
Day,
be
go out,
like
enjoy the
they're
day.
looking at
Yeah.
like we're the crazy ones,
Right,
Like
right.
no,
We're
we've
just here
we've
enjoy-
been turkey hunting this place,
Right.
Yeah.
Here's another thing that I've seen in over the years, and this is making it really tough, because this week alone, you see the shootings that were,
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
3 shootings in the nation. Now, here's the situation, okay? I get out with my vehicle one morning, and I'm dressed in my camo, throw on my vest and everything, and I grab my shotgun, and I head off. This is during deer season, okay? And the reason I'm taking my shotgun is because I've also got some turkeys that are coming in the area, and I've had them close enough to my tree stand before that I can shoot deer with a rifle. I can also shoot them with a shotgun. So what I'm going to take with me. So I'm limited to my time, right? Because at the time I'm a taxidermist, and people are bringing their stuff in at the same time I want to get out to go hunting. So
Correct, yeah.
that was always that conflict. So I go to my tree stand. I'm up there in my tree stand, And I turn to the left, and I look off in the distance, and I can see a blue light. I went, oh, some poor guy, he just got picked up for speeding or something on that little road, right?
Yeah.
No big deal. So I just sat there, and I sat there, you know. Next thing I know, over a megaphone, would the driver of the truck please come out of the woods? I'm going, you got to be kidding me. So I climb down out of my stand and get down there, and I walk out. Almost to the truck, I meet a guy in a green vest. Sure enough, it's a cop. Come to find out, some woman called the cops and said they saw a guy running in the woods in camouflage, and they're relating it to domestic violence. Okay?
Never,
So
you
now-
ever been in the woods before, lady?
Yeah, right. So now what the cop says to me, I'm sorry I messed you up. You can go back now. I went, it's going to be dark in 10 minutes. You just ruined my whole entire night. But then he starts giving me, well, your tire is pretty close to the asphalt. I said, really? Is that the best you can do after, right?
Yeah.
So I said, and here's where the situation is getting. We're getting more and more non-residents moving into New Hampshire, buying a piece of property, and either posting it or not knowing what we do. I have gotten to the point where I absolutely, probably in the last 6 or 7 years, I have not gone out in the evening to try to roost a turkey. Because the problem is you go out there, you drive down the road, well, here's that spot that I wanted to try. You get out and try to do a call. Next thing you know,
Someone's
pulls up and
looking
goes,
at you.
what are you doing? What are you doing
Yeah.
here? What's going on? Well, these are my turkeys. We fed them all winter. I don't want you here. Things like that. In the morning when I go out, 4:30, 5 o'clock, it's getting daylight, that guy's not even out of bed, hasn't had a
Right.
cup of coffee.
Right.
He doesn't even know I'm there. So that's part of it. But trying to educate these people to the fact that what's going on, my number one thing, I've been hunting lately with a crossbow, which I think we should get more and more young kids involved in trying to shoot the crossbow. Your wife can go with you and learn how to shoot a crossbow. If you can look through a scope and get the crosshairs on something with a crossbow, it opens up.
You can make it happen.
It can
Yeah.
make it happen. But I said the number one thing is we have a campsite that we've been to down to Hampton Falls. Any given day, we're seeing 45 or 50 turkeys. We're seeing sometimes 8 and 9 5-year-old strutters
Yeah,
that
just
will
huge.
never, ever,
Ever be shot.
be shot.
Nope.
They're going to be hit by a car or some poor guy on a motorcycle coming around a corner. The flock flies up and he takes out half the flock, or they take him out, right?
Yeah.
But yet, when
Yeah.
whoever came up with this idea of putting, you can't discharge a bow within 100 yards of an occupied dwelling. I don't know. That is probably the most craziest thing I've ever heard, because I have been a licensed archery hunter. I'm a certified archery instructor. I teach archery in both Plymouth and Campton for the after-school program. I've probably taught 3,000 kids in the years I've been as an archery instructor. There is not a place in the state of New Hampshire that you could shoot at a deer at 100 yards. And if you
was just
could,
gonna say-
that deer's going to see that arrow coming 2 days before it gets there, right? If you could shoot that far. And I said, so, I understand with a firearm, but you really take the edge off in that. And now you take a crossbow that you can't discharge within 100 yards of an occupied dwelling. You're taking a place that's like a semi-residential area
Yeah.
that has turkeys in it,
Loaded.
that has more than enough birds.
Eating all the grass. Everybody's
and
pissed
people
at 'em.
getting now. You got two sides of the street. You go up and you'll ask one person if you can hunt there, and they look at you like you just took their last dollar out of their wallet, or you get the other person who wants you to kill all of them when the first time you show up. You go,
Yeah,
I'm
take
only-
three.
I
I
can
can only
only
get one."
kill one, and I can only take one. So
So, take out the whole flock. It's,
so
Yeah.
so it's kind of a mixed bag of nuts. But the bottom line is, there's a lot of things that whoever designed some of these programs didn't look at the entire state. And then I see last year that they were trying to increase that from 100 yards to 300 yards that you
Yeah.
couldn't
I
discharge
saw
a
that.
bow.
I saw
right?
that. Yeah.
That would mean that probably from the New Hampshire border at Massachusetts to possibly at least Plymouth, maybe even up as far as Littleton, you wouldn't be able to shoot anything anymore with a bow. Simply because we are getting so built up with residential areas, people coming in and buying a house or going over to Newfound Lake, for an example, and buying a camp for $250,000, tearing it down and building a $2.5 million house on it.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this is our world. Stay off. There are people over there that don't even want you with a boat in the water in front of their camp.
Right.
because we bought this.
Right.
This is our
No.
water. This is our
I've
lake.
I've put spinner baits on people's docks and have them get pissed off. Yeah,
I've casted to
Yeah.
people's like beaches before and have them tell me, no, go fish somewhere else.
No. Guess
It's
what?
like,
yeah, right.
Watch this.
Yeah,
Oh,
this-
got a big Larry. Hold on.
yeah. This is my world. Get out of it. You know.
It's
So
obvious that these
it
people
makes it
either
really,
spend
really
too much
tough.
time in the city or they're just doing their own way. It's like,
You know.
they're
Well,
not.
like exactly what you
It's
just
in their
said.
way.
is
It's in their way,
If you
yeah.
move somewhere, don't change it to the place that you just moved from.
Right.
Keep it how it is.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you came here.
Right. Right.
So
But here's another thing that I'm seeing that probably frosts my shorts the most is driving by areas that are posted. That poster that's on that tree is 12, 14 years old. That guy's been dead 9 years now.
yeah,
Right? The poster line's
I
still
totally
there, all
agree.
right?
Yep.
You
This
go on that piece of property, the game warden's going to say to you, you can't read the sign.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's already, it tells you. That guy doesn't own it anymore, but nobody bothered to take the sign down. All right? The other thing is driving up to a place and it's got posted signs and there's nobody's name on it. Now, if I want to keep you guys out of my hunting spot, all I've got to do is go over there 2 days before season and staple up a
And
no
I've seen it.
trespassing
I've seen it
sign.
happen.
Oh, same here, right? My wife's cousin, it comes from Arlington, Mass. So he comes up here and he meets some good old boys down in Laconia, and he wants to go turkey hunting, and he's talking to them. They tell him where to go. All right? That guy doesn't mind. He doesn't mind if you go on their property. So he goes over there late in the morning, all right? And luckily, he took pictures of the entranceway. It's got 2 great big columns of granite, all right? And he goes down this tote road, down and around through the woods and everything. And sure enough, he gets some birds to gobble, but he didn't have any luck. But I found some turkeys. So he's feeling pretty confident, pretty happy, right? So he's got the whole week. He runs a plumbing and heating business in Massachusetts. He comes up here. He spent big bucks for a hunting license and all the things that are going with it. He gets here. He goes down there, and he's got a F-350 truck, dual wheels with stacks on it, that he hauls a 45-foot
trailer.
camper,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
and all this and that. So he's got that parked on that roadway. He's down there, and it's probably 25 of 12. Bugs are getting pretty bad. He's decided he's walking back, and as he's walking, he sees a bunch of people legs walking around his truck on the opposite side of his truck. So, being from Mass, he's a little nervous about who it is, what's going on, and everything. Do I walk down with a gun pointed at somebody? Do I unload? So he made sure his gun was unloaded and did everything right. He's a really, really nice guy, but he never grew up in a hunting family. He's like me. He came to me, and I kind of took him under his wing. So when he gets down there, game warden steps out around the tailgate and looks at him and says, "Evidently where you live, you can't read." He said, "Excuse me?" He said, "You heard me." Now, the game warden's got an attitude, all right? And Rich doesn't know exactly why. And he said, I don't have any idea what you're talking about, sir. And he's trying to be nice to him because I told him, give him your name and address, answer your questions yes or no, but don't give him any more information than you have to, because you're just going to dig yourself a deeper hole. Don't try to be friends with him, because you're not going to be friends. Because if he's there because he's looking at it like you're a violation.
Yeah.
All right. He's not coming there to be warm and fuzzy. All right. So he took that under consideration. They walk back out. There's posted signs on both sides of the truck. All right. So what happens is, instead of making a big deal with the game warden writes him up to go to court. He's going to this and that. So he gets ready to go to court. The judge asked him how he pled. He said, not guilty. He goes, how come you feel you're not guilty? He said, game warden doesn't write you up a tag for nothing. And so the game warden is the first one to talk. He talks about when he got there, there's this big truck and Rich says to him, listen, Your Honor, I'm from Massachusetts, but please don't hold that against me. So, but he said, I don't know this area very well, and I had a hard time finding it. So I've never had a problem. This is my second year on this property, and I've encountered a lot of other people, and nobody ever gave me a hard time, or nobody ever pointed this out. And I said, when I got there, there was no posted signs. Yeah. And so they did was they ran him through the ringer. You're a liar. You don't, yada, yada, yada. So he just let the game warden say his piece. Everything was done. When he was done, he handed the phone to the bailiff and said, could you show that to the judge? The judge looked at it, and it's time dated, and there was no signs there.
Someone put fucking posted
Put
signs
posted signs up while he was hunting.
Losers.
All right. So what happened was the judge said to the game warden, I'd like to see the landowner in here next week. And that's what you look for. You know what I mean? Because that's just
such
that,
a headache.
So that's exactly it.
So-
but the bottom line is, in the state of New Hampshire, once that sign is put up, no matter who put it up,
And it could be, like
It's
you said,
posted.
15.
It's
It
posted.
could. They told me in hunter safety, if it looks like it might have been posted at one point,
Even if there's a square plaque nailed
yeah,
on the
don't
wall,
go in
it's
it.
posted.
But this is
Right.
my issue.
but how do you find a landowner?
Right,
Well, exactly.
right.
So
Yes.
if we're gonna do our due diligence and we're gonna follow the rules and we're gonna do everything that we can to, do the right thing,
Right.
then they need to do it the right way too.
Right.
Every 50 feet,
Right.
signed,
With
phone
your name
number,
on it.
address.
You know, and one person I asked one time, I was talking to this gentleman when we were at Tractor Supply, and he was buying some pellets to feed the deer for the winter. I'm thinking, you're not supposed to do that, but, it's his own property. I'm not going to, who am I, right? So I'm standing, and so we're talking apples and oranges and things like that. And I said to him, my pet peeve is seeing postage signs with nobody's name on it. And I said, let me give you an example. All right. If I come to you and you give me permission to hunt on your property, I'm going to take care of that property like it was my own.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that nobody else is on it. I'm going to campus it. I'm going to make sure that everything's going well. Now, if I'm driving down the road and I look and I see some guy throw a washing machine down over the bank, and you got a piece of you got a postage sign with nothing on it, you got a piece of property that's posted. Yeah. If your name's on it and your telephone number, I'm going to drive to your house as a guy that's going to look at it like, listen, I just saw Larry with a Dodge truck dump a washing machine
Exactly.
down over there. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in turn, you may give me permission to make sure your land's not filled up with stuff.
Yeah.
I see there are places that we can't hunt anymore because people are throwing a bunch of tires down over the bank or a refrigerator and a couple of couches and everything rather than spend $4 to take them to the dump,
Yep.
right? I didn't do that, so why should I be penalized? But you, as a landowner paying taxes, how do I meet you? How do I make you friends, right? Then I go to the
How
town
do
building.
I ask for permission? You can't.
Or you can't find out who owns it. You know what I mean? If you go to the town, I went to one situation. I went to the town to get the land map, and I was in there about an hour and a half trying to do things, and the person there was very helpful and told me who owned the land and everything, and then come to find out he had died, and it was his daughter that now held the land, all right? She was in Colorado,
Yeah.
all right? So luckily, I just sent her a small letter and everything and told her who I was. Now, this is what I do when I try to get on property for somebody. I take my driver's license, I take my hunter's license, I take my registration, I put it in a printer, and I photocopy the entire thing. They've got every piece of information they need to prosecute me for anything. They've got it all. And I walk up, knock on the door, introduce myself. Hi, I'm Ed Ash. I'm an archery instructor. I'm a hunter safety instructor. I'm a turkey hunter, yada, yada, yada. Listen, I'm looking for a place to turkey hunt, and what I want right now is I'm looking for a place to take a young boy or girl that's not going to be snuck in by somebody else.
Right.
Here's my credentials. People will look at it and go, oh, this guy's serious, right? And I've gotten more places open to me that way because now they have all my information. I'm not just a guy that knocked on the door.
Something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Something goes
yeah.
wrong, right?
It's a peace of mind for them.
Right. And then later on, you drive up the road and everything, and you look and you see somebody's been parking there on the side of the road, and they've thrown out a bunch of soda cans and a bunch of stuff. Stop and you pick it up. All right? And then you drive up to the house, go, hey, Tim, gee, I'm just driving by, and I thought I'd stop and say hello. Oh, by the way, I picked up this trash down there. They remember that. They look at that now we became friends. Now
Right.
we became something of an entity, right?
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of ways you can get in it, but it is really tough because a lot of these people that are coming up from out of state don't trust the people who live here, right?
Yeah.
And as I say, more and more right now between all the shootings and all the things that are going on in domestic violence, people are seeing us as hunters go into the woods and not knowing why we're there. Where I live in the town of Campton, one day I'm out on Campton Pond. I'm dressed. I got camouflage waders, camouflage suit, camouflage hat, camouflage shotgun,
We're going hunting.
and I'm walking out of there, and I've got 2 wood ducks and a black duck. And the cop is sitting behind me with the blue lights going. He goes, so what are you doing? I looked at him. I said, bass fishing. He goes, "Don't be a smart ass." I mean,
No,
what,
you
do you,
ask
what,
me.
You know what I'm doing.
you know, what do you think? Right?
Catching
It's-
ducks.
right? So he says to me, "Are you supposed to be here?" Which tells me right around he doesn't even know.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, "You know Jim Nealon, lieutenant for fishing game?" He said, "Yes, I do." I said, "You call him and tell him Ed Ash is hunting on Campton Pond. He'll let you know." He goes, "Oh, okay." So he goes. Now, that may sound pretty crazy, but I have also, 2 years ago, come out of my tree stand after coming down off a hill, following the area out about maybe a little over a mile from my house. The wind's blowing. It is cold. I am frozen. I want to be back to my truck. As I'm walking, all of a sudden, boo! What the heck? I turn over my shoulder, and I got a cruiser behind me with the blue lights going. So he stops me, and he says, "Is that gun loaded?" And I said, "Is it supposed to be?" He didn't know. He didn't know. No, I don't know. No, it's not
It's
loaded.
not loaded.
No, it's not loaded. I kind of stumped him around that one.
Yeah.
So I said to him, he goes, "Where are you? What are you doing here?" And I said, "I've been hunting up on the top of the mountain here," and I got turned around. I just came out a different area. And he said, "Well, people driving by said they saw some guy walking down the road with a gun." I said, "Yeah, it's me." You know,
I do the same thing
That's
here.
me, you know,
I,
right?
I literally come out. Deer season. If I'm on a track, and I go on a track and I'm gone. I might poke down by wherever I'm down the road, and I just walk like it's getting dark, 3 o'clock.
Oh, come on, the
during
main
deer
road.
season. I'm walking the main road. I'm not walking through
Woods, can't
12
see.
inches of snow,
Right.
and all the neighbors waving at me. Oh, yep, just out there deer hunting.
Yep.
You know,
But
yeah.
this particular guy, I said to him, "I am frozen to death. Any chance you can give me a ride back to my vehicle?"
Yeah.
No. He couldn't put me in the trunk. He couldn't put me in the back seat. He wouldn't give me a ride. He followed me, footstep after footstep, with the blue lights going,
With-
all the way back to my vehicle.
Really?
So as everybody's going by, they don't know if I'm being picked up, arrested, but cars are going by and slowing down because he's got his blue lights going.
You just
And the
get-
guy in the front of his headlights is walking with a gun.
You just
So what did that look
You're
like?
getting like the hunter detour there.
You know what
That's
I mean?
perfect.
So,
That's
so what
perfect.
does that look like? What's that tell the public? What's
Yeah, it
going
doesn't
on?
look
You know what I
good.
mean?
Yeah.
I did talk to the chief of police in that town. He goes, "Well, let me talk to the guy." And I went, it's done. It's not going to make any difference. But it is amazing the world that we live in and how things have changed today.
Listen, when we were in, excuse me, when we were in high school, we used to get out of high school and go
I think I know what you're talking about.
out to a piece of property, and I knew the laws and regulations. I knew what a compact zone was.
Yep.
6 consecutive houses within 300 feet of each other.
Yep.
So we would go out there and we'd either be
Skeet
shooting,
shoot, or-
it'd be crow season, be out there shooting crows, and we're close to a school, but within plenty of distance
Yep.
to be legal.
Close? Yeah, it was pretty far.
But
like through the woods.
Someone called the cops on us, and so as we're walking out trying to shoot crows, it's pretty much a sand pit.
Yeah.
We're watching. We're coming back out. There's a cop sitting there. It's like, you know what? You cannot be shooting here. It's illegal to shoot here. And I said, why? And I'm probably what?
We've been shooting
18
there
years
forever.
old?
Yeah.
And
said,
now you're a smart ass.
Yeah. How come? Why can't I shoot here? Well, because you're too close to a school. I said, no. You're too close to houses. I said, no. I know all the legality. I've done the
We've
math.
been hunting here.
I've
and
been
we've
hunting here.
Yeah.
I know what it takes. There's a break in whatever that 4 or 5 houses that's not within 300 feet.
Yeah.
This is not a compact zone.
Right.
So I went back, and I was young enough where my dad got pissed because my dad's a big hunter, and he's like, all right, I'm going to go to the police station.
Straighten
And-
this out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to educate the police
Right.
what the hunting regulations are, unless why are they stopping us if they don't know the regulations?
Right.
So he went there, and then he was like, this is what the law says. This is what I'll call fish and game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But here's something that's really crazy. Where we live in Campton, there's condos along the side, the riverfront condos and everything.
Yep.
Now what's happening is you get a lot of people that come up here, and it's just getting daylight. Boom, 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 boom. We're shooting. All right. Woo! Cruiser comes flying down the road and everything.
Nothing
Well,
happened.
you
We're
know,
just
right?
shooting ducks.
We're not shooting anywhere near the condo, but we woke them up, and those people are down here.
Yeah.
So here's the situation. If they don't want us, if they want to bag us for something illegal, all those landowners have to do is walk over across the street and throw a bag of corn down in the water, and they can bag us for hunting over a baited area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And some of the things are crazy that you see, and you would never, ever thought that would ever happen. You know what I mean? And it's not, and I'm telling you, right now, with all the people that I grew up with, there's probably 3 of us that still hunt.
Yeah, it's
Right?
dying.
There are guys that have just basically quit. They've got harassed out of their places,
Right. It's not
or the
like it used to
places that
be.
they went to are gone. I grew up, born and raised in Littleton, and over where the Littleton Hospital is now was an incredible piece of property that deer hunted there for years. Hospital's just right in the middle of it now. Now all of those roads that were going up over the mountainside, you've never seen. There's probably 960,000 posted signs because everybody who came there to work at the hospital bought a piece
house,
of property
posted it.
and posted it. Or what happened was they would post it to the point where there would be 200 feet between your property and my property, and somebody would come along and put a posted sign between it. So that's the way they went in.
Yeah.
So the locals, are doing that, and you don't know because there's nobody's name on that poster,
Yeah. It all comes back to that
Yeah.
same thing.
And we were in Montana Wyoming one time on a hunt, and I went and asked this guy for permission on his property, and he said, he said, yeah, we're bringing cattle in right now. This is a 140,000 acre ranch, but he said, we only got 40,000 acres open hunting right now. 40,000? Yeah. And there's
That's
3
it?
of us that want to
Damn.
go on it, right?
Yeah, thank you.
So what he said to me is, when you're driving down the road here, all right, when you're driving down the road, when you get ready to go down to Simple Creek, he said, on the left-hand side of Simple Creek, there's a little byway that you can go and park right there and go in. And I get down there, and it's all posted. And I went, oh, man. So we didn't hunt there that morning. I go back to his ranch probably about 11 o'clock, and I said to him, yeah, we get down there, and it was posted. He says, what's posted? I said, where that parking area is you told me to go. So I said, there's some guys up in there hunting right now because, we were probably on their border of their property. He goes, no. I own another 7 miles down this road. You're not,
Holy
you know what I mean?
smokes, yeah.
So we went down. These boys had just done that. They had
Yeah.
gone and put a posted sign up, no hunting, no trespassing. All right.
shit.
And when they would go hunting, they'd take it out and put it underneath the truck, and then they'd hang it back up when they left. And so what the ironic thing about it was, he went down there and he goes, "We'll take care of it." So I hunted and we went by and everything, and then the next day the same thing was there. The guys were in there hunting in the morning, and I looked and the tires were flat. I went, "Oh, the guys." What he did was he pulled the valve stems out.
Holy smokes.
Oops, these guys aren't going anywhere until I get back.
I'll figure it
I don't
out.
think
Yeah,
so.
I'll figure it out. But and I thought afterwards, I said, that was a kind of a slimy thing to do. But the bottom line is, that's how places get lost.
Yeah.
Is by
stupid
not
shit.
by
Stupid shit like that.
Stupid stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like right now, we're talking about turkey hunting tonight and what's going on. We are losing more and more areas to that turkey hunting because what might be a great year this year, those birds have moved to another spot.
Yeah.
And I was a firm believer earlier in time that if I came to a piece of property that was posted and I couldn't hunt on it, okay, because it became a giant turkey rearing area for that year. Because that after they have a good successful season,
Yeah.
all right,
They're
those
getting
turkeys are going to
pressured,
be moving
yeah.
off to another area.
Right,
All right.
exactly.
But it doesn't do any good if somebody comes in and buys that piece of property in the meantime, and then your world just got slammed shut. You know.
Yeah.
And the same way as I say, there's areas there that, how do I find out who the person is that owns it? He's only coming up on weekends. How do you break the ice of that person? How do you
Right.
how do you introduce yourself?
Yeah.
you know?
I'll watch the property. I'll do whatever it is.
Yep.
We're gonna
grab some more.
we're gonna
Get into some turkey tactics and some
we're gonna
calling.
start from a brand new hunter that's never been in the woods. So if you guys want to go into tactics, opening day, here we go. It's we get up at 3, we make some coffee. You've been looking at birds. You got birds scouted. You figured out where they're roosting. You go in. What's a tree call sound like? Carry on. What do you want to do?
Like, first thing, right as you get out of your truck, what's your guys' first step for being successful and what you guys are doing, especially calling-wise? And
Well, usually what I like to do is give it a couple of days in advance. do not call to a turkey. Do not.
So
call
when you're
to-
when you're saying when you're scouting,
when
don't
I'm
call.
scouting, do not call to a turkey. You just want to know what neighborhood he's in.
Yeah.
Basically, where's his bedroom? Where's his living room? What am I going to be doing at 9 o'clock in the morning? Because a lot of times you might kill a turkey and be out of the woods at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. And then there's that day that the weather conditions aren't right, or you've got a young Jenny, and a Jenny is that's one of those late hatched chicks. That's female that's not really old enough to mate, but she's hanging around because I like the looks of this guy. So
Right.
she's just messing up your whole hunting situation. But later on in the morning, the hens are going to want to go off to the nest, and if you know what they're going to do and where they might head, at 9 o'clock is going to be completely different than 5:30 in the morning. But normally what I'll do is I'll go out there, check. I may throw out some owl hoots first thing in the morning.
Go ahead, give us your owl hoot that works for you guys.
All right. You want to do one, Ed?
You can do it.
All right. Well, I usually start out with woo 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 woo. If you get going, and this works pretty well early in the spring because a lot of owls are setting up their territory, and Ed and I have had a great time getting the birds all wound up. We'll get turkeys that haven't gobbled in a few days to lose their mind because all of a sudden we'll have these owls. We now become the intruder. Now there's somebody in the mix. This is our little territory. This is where we hunt. This is where we live. And who are you? And we start out with who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all? It's woo 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 woo. Then we'll pick it up with a wah 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 wah. If you don't get a turkey to gobble within a half mile of that, you might as well just get in your truck and drive away.
Go to the next spot.
Yeah, go to the next spot, because if there's a turkey anywhere around, he's going to start gobbling. He's going to go, what in the world is that, right? Now, later on in the day, turkeys are smart enough to realize at 10 o'clock you're not going to get a whole lot of owl calling. So at that point, I just switch over with a crow call and go,
Crow call is always.
This is all.
This is all with a mouth. That's pretty
It's all-
damn
yeah,
good.
that's pretty good.
yeah, and then you'll start hearing, now you know where he is, at least. All right. Now, at that point, am I going to kill him? Nah, no, not necessarily. But I know at this point where he's living. So what I try to do then is try to move into a distance of maybe 100 yards, try to stay in that safe distance. He hasn't had an opportunity to see me, know what's going on. These turkeys' hearing and ability to find you is so extraordinary that sometimes just walking in the leaves, you'll hear a bird gobble.
Right.
Because he can hear you, but he doesn't know what's going on. All right? He thinks it's a hen coming to him. So at that point, I like to be able to find a good tree that's wide enough to be able to cover my back. So if somebody's coming in behind me, they're not going to see me. Plus, it's going to block my it's going to be my backboard, so to speak. So as the turkey's coming in, I'm going to kind of blend into my camouflage with what's going on. I've hunted for many, many years, sometimes with a decoy. Decoys can mess you up, though. You'll put them out, and you can't move them once you set them up. And if the tom comes in and sees it, he's going to gobble for 25 minutes waiting for that hen
To come to him.
to come to him, and she's not going anywhere. So,
Yeah. So can you go into the scenario like there? It's not like most other animals. The
No.
hen generally goes
right
to the
right.
tom.
The reason that he's gobbling in the morning, and this is where I think a lot of people starting out get frustrated, because you'll go out in the morning and you'll do a locator call, whether it be an owl, crow, whatever, and he'll gobble, and then he'll gobble, and then he'll gobble, and then he'll gobble. You go, oh my God, this is awesome.
fired up.
He's all fired up.
He's
right?
coming in
Fired
hot.
up.
Right. And then all of a sudden you
gonna
go
pitch.
and you
He's
set
gonna
up
pitch.
and you start doing your calls, and the woods go dead silent. It's like, uh-oh, he must have seen me. No, he hasn't seen you. Normally, if he's far enough away and he hasn't seen you, what he's doing is he's waiting for a hen to walk up. He's waiting, because when you started throwing out hen calls, he thought, oop, Sally's in the neighborhood, and he's waiting for Sally to come join him. Because in the springtime, the hens basically go to the tom. He's just gobbling like crazy for 2 reasons. 1, to tell the hens where he's located, and 2, to tell the other toms in the area, I'm the boss. I'm the big boy. I'm in charge. And I've had friends over the years that have heard that the tom that they were hunting the day before was shot by somebody else. And there's no sense in going back there because they killed that bird. There couldn't be
Not
anything any further from the
necessarily.
truth.
Just because one turkey was killed there doesn't mean another bird's going to come in.
That's right. Because what happens a lot of times, there's the bird that's gobbling in the morning is trying to be the dominant bird. And there are times when you'll go out there, you'll hear 5 or 6 birds gobbling in the morning, and you'll think, whoo, it can't get any better than this. And at 6 o'clock, you're the only one in the woods. Nothing's gobbling. And you're
Been there 100
like,
times,
oh,
yeah.
my God,
Yeah.
what did I do wrong? Right?
So can we, when we get settled down and you do your owl hoot and you hear a gobble, you want to, how far or how close do you want to get to that bird?
I try not to move to him, all right, because if I start to move to him, he thinks he's going to wait me out, okay?
That and
What
he
I
could
may
see you underneath the roost.
Right.
There have been times we go out turkey hunting and we hear the turkey and we're moving down an area. All of a sudden, pop, 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 he's going the other way, and that
And
can
the
mess you up.
reason for that is he sounded like he was a lot further away. He was
Just
actually
turned.
standing on the limb, pointing in the opposite direction. So his voice was going away from us, and we think we're getting close to him, and all of a sudden
You
we
busted him.
We busted him.
Yeah.
However, listen, there are many times that people will walk away going, "I can't believe I just did that." All right. Well, you didn't physically touch him. All right. He may have seen you, but I've gone to places and gone hunting and then come back there at 10:30, 11 o'clock, come in from a different direction, throw out a hen call, and get him to respond because he remembers Sally was there, and then that guy that I saw walking through the woods must have spooked her because,
Right,
you know.
right.
I was doing a turkey hunting seminar one time, and a guy asked me, he says, "Mr. Ash, why do you feel that you're so successful at turkey hunting?" And I says, "Well, turkeys and I have about the same size brains, so it's pretty easy for me to get on the same relation to them, you know?"
Yeah.
So, you know, but I think it's simply because I spent a lot of time after my hunting season going back to areas that had turkeys to learn what turkeys were doing the first week, the second week, and the last week of the season.
Because it all
Because
changes. I want to get back in. I want
it
to
all
get. I want to
changes.
touch on that, but I want to. Can we? So a tree call when you finally get set up, you heard the gobble. Eddie, can you do a tree call for us?
Oh yeah, sure. And basically, yeah, the tree call. It's obviously one of the most quiet calls a turkey will make. I mean,
The,
it
the
doesn't have
birds
to
are
be-
all on the roost when you
Yep.
do this call, right?
exactly, and they don't yelp too much. They just go, yep, 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 yep. It's like just when you're waking up in the morning, you're walking around, and when that turkey's up, she won't automatically go yak yak. It's a soft yep, yep.
All right, we're gonna hear it right here. That quiet, huh?
Yeah, that's not turned down because of the volume. That's because how loud it is. Basically, if you think about it with yourself, the alarm goes off in the morning, you put your feet on the floor, you get ready to get out of bed. The last thing you do is put your feet on the ground and start doing jumping jacks and go, "Hey, what's going on, world?" Instead, you're kind of like rubbing the sleepy seeds out of your eyes and wishing you had another 20 minutes of sleep.
Hit it
Yeah.
again. And they can hear that from 70 yards.
That's exactly it. Turkeys will be a tom turkey in the morning when it's really crisp and there's no other sound out there. Can hear that for half a mile.
And you got to think
And-
they're up in the trees. They're above
Right.
you. So
They're above you, so
That
that's carrying a
sound.
distance.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
Carries.
right. Now, at that point, if you hear a bird gobble, all right, I look at it like put the first ace on the table. Whoop, I got his attention. He knows there's a hen here. And at that point, I may just be quiet for a few minutes and see if I have any hens that might answer me back. Because if the hens start waking up and you find out that she's sleeping beside him on the same limb, that just cuts your odds in half, at least. Because why go look for a girl when I got one standing beside me?
Right.
You know? So at that point, I kind of play it out. If it's if he's going to start gobbling 2, 3, 4 times by himself, then at that point I'll just look for the most convenient place that I can think for him to come down through the woods, find an area with that tree that's got some backstop, even if it's like a big stump or something behind me, and sit still And at that point, I might just do another. I'll do another tree out. All right. But this time, if he gobbles back, I'll pick it up with a little. If he's really hot, he'll gobble back to that right in the middle of my call. He'll cut me off when I'm calling. Ed, why don't you show what that is like a little bit louder? All right. So now at that point, we
Is
got
she
his
still
attention.
on the limb?
He's still on the limb.
Okay.
All right. He's still on the limb. He knows I got a hen in the area. He may not know exactly where she is, but oh my God, I got a girl coming in. She's interested because she's talking back to me. Now at this point,
Yeah.
oh, how do I do this? I don't want to mess this all up. I don't want him to see me coming and everything. So at this point, I'm going to try to do a fly down cackle. And a fly down cackle is when they're waking up. They basically, at this point, I've had the opportunity to realize that, oh, I got a boy in the area. He's interested in me, and I'm waking up. Now, I do two things. Some people use a wing. I use my hat to flap it around on my leg and sound like wings that are beating against things like this. And we'll do a fly down cackle with either a mouth diaphragm call or we'll do a pot call.
Or
And
even
the
a
pot
box
call
call.
works.
The box call has always been
works
my favorite
even
for
the
a fly
best.
down cackle,
Boy, the
yeah.
box call is nice and
You get
sharp.
yeah, nice and crisp.
And what that is doing is that hen is why she's doing the clucks on the limb. Buck, buck, buck. And when she starts to fly off the limb, she's going bow, 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 bow. She's telling them which direction that she's flying. Okay? So as she's telling them which way she's flying, when she hits the ground, a lot of people stop. I don't. What I do is when I hit the ground, I go buck, 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 buck. So
'Cause
sometimes
it gets more realistic.
it gets more realistic.
And
All
it
right.
just
Now,
gives the
sometimes what
gobblers
I will do
understanding.
is I will stand at one tree and look like, oh, over here to my left or over to my right, maybe 20 yards, 15, 20 yards is a better setup. That's a better tree. So I'll stand at tree number one and do a fly down cackle with that sound. And I'll take my hat. That imitates the wings beating as the bird's flying down. And then when you hit the ground, you go, puck, 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 as you walk away. Walk to your second tree, set your butt down on that tree, put your shotgun up in your knee, and point it in the direction that the turkey's gobbling, because there's instances where the turkey will fly completely off his roost and land within 20 feet of you right on the ground. He can pinpoint you within a few feet of where you are. That's how acute his hearing is. All right. And then there are other times that it's an hour and a half later, and you're still sitting, leaned against that tree, trying to figure out,
All
what
of a
did I
sudden,
do wrong?
Comes in
And-
quiet.
Yeah. So sometimes after you've done that whole scenario, being quiet and not throwing out any call, he's trying to figure out,
So
where did she go?
pretty much you're just doing that, so you do the fly down cackle, and then we're rolling on to the next. Okay.
Yep.
Birds are on the ground.
Birds are on the ground now.
And the call I'm using today is the Crimson Jenny. It's a new call that was made by Edwin Schertz and Mr. Wingbone's calls. And this is a cherry wooden call with slate over glass. It costs about $60, but this is a great call. It's personally one of my favorites now. It does amazing raspy yelps, clucks, and even fighting purrs. So I would highly recommend this to anyone who's interested in a slate over glass, because so far this is going to be my go-to call for this year, without a doubt.
I'm buying one. Good deal.
That's deadly. That tells him now she's on the ground. More than likely, she might be going to a nest that she's got an area. So if he's got half a brain left at this point, he's either going to fly down and expect her to come to him and gobble, or he's going to come looking for her. We never know this as a hunter because we never know what the situation was the day before. He may have been involved with a bunch of other birds, and he's a loner now. He may be a bird that is the most mature bird, and he's going to want to get there before some jake comes in and steals her. So with that, that's where the turkey hunting becomes a chess game. I think that's the part that probably makes it the most fun is if we could just throw out 2 calls and a bird came in, we'd be able to shoot the turkey and go home, and that would be the end of it,
And a lot of people do that.
And a lot of people are lucky and do that. Now,
you can almost do it on the first day,
Yeah,
youth weekend. You can almost do it with a McDonald's cup and a straw.
yeah, yeah,
You can almost do it, but it goes it literally comes in periods. So you got youth weekend, all those birds are naive and they don't know anything. First weekend they get pressured. Second weekend, third weekend, they're getting hammered.
yeah.
You got to also look at turkey on almost like fishing in a way, because like fly fishing, how many flies can you go through before you find that right fly?
Right.
Same with turkey hunting. Sometimes it doesn't like that slate. Sometimes it doesn't like that
It's a different
diaphragm.
pitch.
All of a sudden, you
Sometimes
hit
guys
that
sound
one
different.
call
You
that
always
works
gotta-
just that day better than it does the last day or
Yeah,
the next
exactly.
day.
I don't want to lose track where we are. I want to go into all of that. But
Oh yeah.
so birds are on the ground.
You're
That's
trying to
your
get them
call.
fired up.
Yeah, so at this point, this is a time to really try to put your ability in perspective, okay? First part of the season, it's not bad. There's no bugs. Everything in the woods are kind of open. You can see a long ways. And when we say don't move, we mean don't move. Because a turkey's eye ability is like a 10-power scope, all right? Now, all mammals can see in gray. They don't see fluorescent orange. They don't see color. All species of birds live on color. So they are looking for that hen, or they're looking for something that's going to be there. The other thing you have to look at is everything eats turkey. We're not looking only for a turkey dinner, but coyotes, bobcats, great horned owls, everything. So now all of a sudden, they really want to come find that girl, but they would rather have her come to him because, the more I gobble, the more I tell the predators where I am. Okay?
Some
And
have
if
even
you-
gone as far as to shot gobbling to a coyote howl for
Yeah.
crying out loud.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I've seen I've seen that recently. Yeah.
Yep. And in some areas, you can actually shut turkeys down with a coyote call simply because for the last few weeks they've been pested by coyotes in an open field. All right. I've seen that situation more than once. But basically, once you're there and you start getting that bird's attention, now what you want to do is focus on soft calls. And I try to get this to a lot of people. The problem that we have as turkey hunters is we don't really think our ability is what it really should be. I have heard turkey hens that have yelped that I would have swore was some 9-year-old kid with a box call that had no idea how to do it.
It
right?
doesn't have to be
Right?
perfect.
It doesn't
every
have
time.
to be perfect. And then all of a sudden, this hen comes walking out from underneath a juniper bush, and I'm looking at it like, what happened to her? She must have swallowed an acorn and can't talk,
Can't get
you know,
it.
something,
Can't
you know
get
what I
it
mean?
out. Yeah.
So it's not always that. It's more about the cadence. It's more about the rhythm that the Tom wants to hear. And when he hears what he likes, he's going to start working his way in. I think what happens in a lot of instances right now in the month of April, please, I can't get across to enough people. Don't call. Now is not the time to call turkeys. This is not the time to go out and find out if I can. You could go out right now on an area that has turkeys in it, get out and slam 2 hubcaps together, and he's going to gobble. All right?
I had
If
him
you
doing that
know-
in my lawn the other day. I walked right by the Toms and the Jakes, and the Tom was in full stride. I walked right by him, didn't even look at him. I sit in my Jeep and I look over, and the Tom's it's probably 30 yards, and he's just sitting there on the edge. I roll down my window, slam the door.
Yep.
Yeah, it takes right off, and
Yep,
then
that's
full
it.
strut.
Yep. Then it goes into full strut.
Yep.
Now,
I'm like,
that's-
oh, man.
and then at this point you think, oh, I'm going to kill that bird as
Yeah,
soon as
no.
the first day. Guess what? He's a one bird you won't kill. He's a one bird you won't kill. All right.
Been there.
And so it's amazing. I think the thing that makes this sport what it is, I can't even say. I shouldn't say a sport.
A hobby.
This hobby or whatever way you want to look at it. I can't say a sport, but I think what makes this what it is the fact that you can get outsmarted by something that's got the brain the size of a walnut,
Yeah.
right? and it teaches you humility. And but the thing is it's if we were to go sit in a boat and every time that we cast out we caught a 5-pound bass, after a while we wouldn't go fishing. All right. And I think it's the same way with turkey hunting. The things that we see, the things that we do.
Yeah.
Ed and I one day we were trying to get this bird to gobble and it wasn't working, and we got 2 owls wound up, and the next thing we know we look up and they're looking right down at us, 35 feet apart, and they're looking at us like, "What in the hell are you?" And the woo. Woo, woo, and like, and they said, "Should we all hoot to him?" And I did, and they looked at it and like they all rustle up like, "Get out of here," So you don't even have to kill a turkey that day, but it's some of the sights that you see, doing things of camaraderie with friends and family, taking a young kid out for the first time. It brings a whole new world to being outdoors. That if you were a deer hunter, you could sit in the blind until you had a beard, 5 inches long and never see a deer. Or like in the state of New Hampshire, I tell people, if you don't kill the first deer you see, you may not get one.
Yeah.
Because we just don't live in that type of concentration in that type of area.
Yeah.
But the turkey hunting is completely different. One of the things that I might do, especially like we're talking with different tactics, is I'll go to an area and there's turkeys in a semi-residential area. I can't hunt there. I'll take out my GPS and take a reading, and I'll drive around the neighborhood and go up over and there's a light line that goes up over the top of the mountain, and if I come in from a half mile away, I can call that Tom to me, not
not have to jump into park your truck on the side of the road, not have to deal with any of the bullshit.
Right, because what's happening is it's getting more and more, and I'm sad to say that in my early days I did this, and from time to time I still might do it, is you'll go by an area that you found birds, and then you find out opening day somebody's parked in your spot that you thought you were going to hunt, and you
don't have plan B.
Yeah, you don't have a plan B. You're scratching your head, and I like to put different spots together. I have a little booklet, Ed and I, when we go out. On rainy days or windy days, turkeys don't not like to be in the hardwoods. They want to be in an open field if they can be. They'll be out in the pouring rain. All I need to do is see them, and I'll write it down. All right, and I'll go back at different times and find out they moved a half a mile away from where they were the first time I saw them. But that's because the hens are taking them where they want to nest, where they want to go, and the toms are just following along to as good old boys. But with that little scenario that once we get that bird committed and we start hearing him, he seems to be coming closer to us, I think what most of us end up doing is calling too much. We hear a bird,
agree. We want to hear that gobble. We want to make sure that he's coming to us. We want to make sure he's still right there.
Yeah.
So you keep...
Yeah.
So from where we left off, when we did like the tree calls, we did a little bit of soft gobbling. You heard a gobble. If depending, I guess, on the setup,
situation.
If it's in the field and you can see the bird, it's different. But if you're in the hardwoods or if you're in just a ridgeline, whatever, what is the next call you're going to? Is it just yelps?
Say if it all probably depends on the situation. Like, what if that bird's held up? So say if that bird has hens, are you playing more? Obviously, are you going to shut up if the birds are, you have that bird committed, even though you don't know you have them committed? But do you shut up or do you keep them? Do you keep them there?
What's the next call to go to?
Sometimes what's hard about that is that, there are hunters that want to call the bird away, and there are hunters that are just let it go and hunt them another day.
Yeah.
But when you go out there in the woodlands, personally, you want to start with some good yelps and clucks, but you don't want to do it too much. Like normally, I give it a minute or two and have him come in, because when you're calling to him, you want to call him to the area you're in. But once you see him, or once he's close, you can hear him close by, that's when you want to stop calling, because the more you call, the more he's just going to give your location. And that's one of the things that when
they
you're
can
turkey
pinpoint
hunting,
you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Some people even take a decoy out and put it right near the woodlands. That could be a no-no at times, because once that gobbler sees the decoy, he knows it's there, and he might not come closer. But if the decoy's not there, he's going to keep looking for it. I mean, it's just like if you're lost in the woods, what would you do if you heard somebody but you can't find them? So
I want to get back on the yelps and clucks. I want to show that in a second. But so you're saying is if they have a visual, if the turkeys, you're calling to the turkey, and then he finally has a visual, after you think he's locked onto the visual, you're done calling at that point.
Yeah, and
'Cause
sometimes
it's almost like you're going to give your position away, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So
yeah.
it's like, say if you hear that last gobble at 70 yards and you can't see him, you're pretty much done. You're all done calling because
sit there and wait.
because he came a little closer,
Right.
came a little closer. Then all of a sudden, 70 yards, 50 yards, you're still in the woods and
Yeah.
you don't have an eye on him. Like, all right, I'm
Right.
done.
And it changes. The problem is it changes every single day.
Right.
Let's look for an example where the turkey gobbled a lot on the roost. He heard your hen fly down, cackle. Everything seems to be going like, oh, you're putting it. You don't know. The day before, he may have been chased off by a coyote. Okay, so now he's going to tiptoe his way in. He's not going to do a lot of gobbling that particular day. Sometimes it's barometric pressure. We'll keep him gobbling. Now, you just asked about what kind of call. There are turkeys that want to hear a cluck, and you could cluck them right to the end of the gun barrel. There's others that want to hear just that. And then there'd be.
Can we do clucks and
put-
yelks just
Yep,
to give that
sure.
example? Let's see right here. We got clucks right here.
Okay. Now that's not very loud, right? That's what you want to start out with, because if he can hear that, that's what you got his attention. If you start doing that and all of a sudden he doesn't gobble, but you know that he's still around, all right, pick it up a little higher.
So
All
you're
right.
not going faster.
No, you're not going
You're just
faster.
bringing the pitch up a
Just
little higher.
you're putting a little bit more pressure on the call, and you're bringing it up a little higher. Now, at this point, if he starts gobbling with that, but he doesn't seem to want to come, throw in some clucks and yelps on a little bit higher pitch. Oh, this is putting a second ace on the table. When he starts gobbling to that, and he hears that,
I'm about
that
to
cluck and
gobble.
yelp. Oh my God! I haven't seen her yet, but my God, is she pretty? Oh my God! I just found my new love. Okay, so that kind of like puts a second ace on the table. Now at this point, you think, "Phew, I can make out my tag. Wait till my friends see this." It's not quite done yet. Okay,
Yeah.
because at this point, now he's got two things he's got to deal with. I want to meet that little girl, but I don't want somebody sneaking up and having me for breakfast. So he's going to try to take the route with the least amount of vegetation in the way. He's going to want an open area where he can see, and I like to be above my turkeys. I don't want to be on a downhill grade. I'd like to be either on the same plateau as them, or I'd like to be a little bit above them. Because if they can come over a rise and look down a hill, they can look for a quarter of a mile, and they're looking for anything that moves.
Okay.
And so at that point, that's the tough part. Now, at this point, though, if he's gobbling, he's coming in, the next thing that you're going to want to listen to is going to be a spit and drum, and it's like, and what he's doing is he's expelling air over his chest. He's got his wings out. He's strutting. He's got his feathers all standing up. He looks like a 55-gallon drum, but he only weighs about 18 pounds. But he looks like a giant bird, right? And what he's trying to do is he's trying to press that hen. I'm right here. I'm right here. So at that point, if you start calling to him with any type of call, he's pretty much at this point just going to stand there for an hour or so and stay in the same place and gobble. It's almost like he snapped a line in the woods. I'm coming to here, but I'm not coming any further. All right? And that's on a bird that's usually a mature bird. An immature bird, a Jake,
He's coming right
yeah,
in.
he's coming right in. He's dumbing a bag of rocks. Oh, I got a girl. I got a girl.
I've obviously had that last season.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, I was at my limit. I don't want to shoot any further than this. And he hung up there, and I was like, I'm gonna shoot him. But there was I didn't have a decoy out, so
Yeah.
it was like he was just gonna circle there and gobble and circle there and gobble and
Yeah.
strut and drag his wings. And at one point, I'm like, all right, this is as close as he's gonna get before he figures me out. So
Right. Right.
I know exactly what scenario you're talking about. Yeah.
But, now at this scenario, because we've been there and done it a few times, now may not be the time to try to get up and move. Definitely not. He's going to pick up any type of movement you have. All right. However, there may be a subdominant bird, or there may be an adult tom that's been listening to this whole scenario for 40 minutes,
Hanging off the side.
hanging off to the side, and he hasn't gobbled. I've had this more than one occasion where all of a sudden out of my peripheral vision, to my right or to my left, I just saw something move. I'll turn my head just a little bit and look, and there is a great big old long beard coming in. First of all, part of the problem in the springtime is they're always fighting for dominance. Every morning they start a new pecking order. That's why I say if somebody killed that long beard, that doesn't mean that the game's over. There's no more good hunting there. That means that for the next 2 or 3 days, he's not gobbling on the roost. So somebody else is going to take over his area.
We can preach for that. That one spot we always hunt. It's always like you go there the next week and shoot another bird. Go there the next week and shoot another bird.
Exactly. Because you've had them a chance to give them a chance to rest and to find out that the hens are still in the area, still what's going on. But if you look at it and after having some experience, after a while, you just say, I'm not shooting any jakes. I don't want to shoot a jake this year. I'm going to shoot a mature bird. That's when it's like winning a tennis game, a tennis match. You just went in there and you go, I'm not just going to play a tennis match. I'm going to win it today. So what you do is you wait them out. And then the best part about waiting him out is you didn't kill that bird. You didn't educate that bird. You educated yourself on how to be able to make that. I have had turkeys get within 40 yards of me looking over the top of a white birch log with a head sticking up about 10 inches and wanting to pull a trigger in the worst way, knowing I'm going to kill a white birch tree, and let them walk away. Yeah. Let them completely walk away. I can hunt him another day. I didn't teach him. I didn't touch him. I didn't mess him up, whatever. I've also had times when the next thing I know, that bird that I've been working on for an hour and a half is now 200 yards away. It's like, what just happened? Hen may have come in that I didn't see.
There's so many unanswered questions.
There's
so many.
Right. But I've also had times when I've gotten up and gone up to that white birch tree after the bird's gone off and given him 15. I've taken a nap and woke up to because he remembers where that hen was
at 8 o'clock.
At 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I become that hen again. That's worked out more than one time.
Just waiting them out.
Just waiting them out.
Getting up.
And listen, at one point, many years ago, I'm hunting down to Boscawen. I'm playing the same type of game with this Tom, and I go underneath this big pine lot, and I take a nap, and I wake up a little later on, and he's coming. He's gobbling. He's coming in. So I move down to the tree where he was, and I got everything going, and I'm going to kill this bird. Wait till my friends see this bird that I just shot. Now, I've got a 12-gauge pump, okay? I'm a semi-automatic guy, but I got a 12-gauge pump. So what happens is the bird comes in. Now, here is my number one problem. When I get ready to empty my shotgun, I just jack the shells out on the ground, pick them up, stick them in my pocket. Okay? When I got there that morning, the turkey was roosting in that pine lot. Hadn't roosted there before. So when I threw out my owl hoop and he's in that roost, I can't go there. So I just got back in the car and waited till he flew away, and then I got out and I started doing my game. The turkey's coming in.
That's things that people don't do, though.
Right.
They just like, I'm going in. I got to find a way to hunt that.
Yep.
Instead, you were patient, waited out that bird.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what happens is I get there, down to that little white birch line in the sand type of deal, and I get there and I wait and I start throwing out some calls, and he is gobbling, double, triple gobbling. He's coming, and I can hit spit and drum, and oh my God, here he comes. I put the bead right on his. I don't shoot a bird in the head. I never aim at a turkey's head. What I aim is aim down for where the wattles or chronicles meet the feathers in the neck. And if I'm hunting with friends and they're sitting beside me, I never say the word shoot or don't shoot, simply because sometimes they will go and shoot when I just said don't shoot. So instead what I do is I say, take them! And I say it loudly, and the bird goes, what the hell was that? And he sticks his head up in the air. Now I got the entire neck area to be able to shoot at. So I get this turkey to come in. He does everything I'm doing. Oh my God, I'm so smart. It's unbelievable. I pull the trigger. The gun doesn't go off. I went, oh no. So I take the safety and I push it back the other way. Pull the trigger. The gun doesn't go off. I'm thinking, you idiot. You've been sitting here for all this time.
Never jacked a shell in.
With never having the safety. I had the safety off. And I looked at it and I went, no, I didn't. I had the safety on. So I click it off. And I pull the trigger again. The gun doesn't go off. And I'm pointing at the turkey, and he's getting closer, and he's getting closer. And at this point, I'm going, oh, my God, I'm about ready to fill my shorts. And he's right there in front of me. How can I miss this turkey? Guess what? When I jacked the shells out the day before, I bent the brass that was on one of the shells. And when I went to put it in the receiver, it never closed the entire action.
So it didn't ever pulled forward.
It didn't head forward. so the gun never would go off.
So your fire pan went. But
So
the
it's
bullets
yeah,
were-
exactly. So you have to recock,
Yeah, I couldn't get the shell out.
jam it. Oh,
I couldn't pump it and get the shell out because the brass was
the distractor was
wedged inside of the round chamber. All right. So today, if any of you guys are hunting down in the Bosquen area, I can tell you the address of the road and everything. You might find a Mossberg 500 pump shotgun because when I get
Laying
done,
out in the swamp.
I threw it out in the swamp and I went back to my semi-automatic. So if you're down there sometime and you come up on an old rusty Mossberg 500,
Give me
you
a
can-
call.
Yeah, I'll give you
Take
a bill of
it
sale
apart.
for it. But it's that type of frustration and it's that love in what we do is why we do what we do. And now, once you can start doing that, the thing that's going to turn your whole table towards turkey hunting is taking kids out. Taking kids or that wife
enjoy-
that's finally let you go and you take her out and then all of a sudden you find out that, oh my God, she's got more patience than God, and she's just kicking my butt because, I have a friend of mine right now that's killed one deer, and his wife shot probably 11.
Yeah.
Just the way it goes.
He couldn't sneak up on a rock. But learning the turkey call aspect of it, I think is fun. One day, Ed and I were in Bass Pro Shop, and this young girl comes along, and oh my God, it sounded like fingernails on a chalkboard. And you could hear it resonate throughout the store. And the next thing you know, I hear, yap, 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 yap. And I look, and that little girl is making the best Swedish yelp.
She figured it out.
And Ed showed her how to hold it on an angle and how to put your finger on for the pressure and how to do that. But there are people out there who will never, ever be able to use a mouth call. But that doesn't mean you can't.
Turkey hunt, right.
Turkey hunt.
Yeah.
And
Can I put one
started
of these?
cut-
Can I use one of these?
Sure. I cut my turkey hunting days on a Lynch wooden box call and a little Lynch peg and slate. And, maybe it was because it was the early days and there weren't many guys out there. I don't know. Now, that may be the difference in what you have for a reed. That might be a double reed. It might be a cutter. All right. Probably the best thing you
I
should
got
do
a
is
cutter right here.
start out with like a single reed call. All right. And try to say the word chuck. All right.
I think it's a call.
There you go. That's good. Yep. Okay. Now,
Sorry. It's supposed to be a podcast. We were just doing turkey calls.
Messing around.
No.
but the thing is, you think that you're not going to be very good at it, and I heard the guy on TV. Well, I was watching a TV the other day when Michael Waddell was hunting with a decoy with the wings hanging down the side, and he's trying to get the trying to do a fighting purr, and he's banging the wings on it, and he's calling with a hand call, and he's putting, and he's going. That all looks like so easy, but Michael Waddell started out with Primos calls in its infancy, and those Georgia boys have been calling turkeys for 90 years,
Right.
And this is all kind of new to us. But start out with a little. That worked out all right. You didn't choke, you didn't gag, all right. So that's and it's just having this thing in the roof of your mouth.
Wait.
is
What
hard
if
for a
you're
lot of people.
hung over in the woods? I've done that.
They all sound good. Yeah. As I say, when I first started out trying to learn how to do this for an elk call, I was spitting this thing on the ground, choking on it, because I thought I had to have it too far back. You just have it in the roof of your mouth, and your tongue's just lightly
Press your
touching
tongue, and your air is supposed to go over your tongue
Yep.
through the
Yep.
call.
So if you're holding it with doing nothing, that's just air going over it. Now you're going to go. That's
a
that nice,
crazy purr.
That's that nice little purr.
That's a diaphragm call, people.
That's a sick purr.
Yep.
Hold on. I want to hear that again. Give me 1 second.
Give these guys a shout out real quick of these calls that we're using right now.
Richland Valley makes these calls. It is called Running Wild Turkey Calls, and he's in Webster, New Hampshire. He's been making these for a few years. Does a great job. He sent me a package this weekend. There's 20 different calls. Some of them have different kind of cutouts. Some of the names of them are like Huck Finn, Twisted Sisters, one that I
I
like.
got a bootlegger.
Bootlegger, Tommy Hawk.
We got Stealth.
You know, these are just some of the names of the
Rum
calls.
Runner.
Now,
Dude, he's got all moonshine names.
what makes these calls different is some of the reeds that are in them are thick with a reed underneath it that's
Right.
thin, and it's
Right.
got a little notch cut in it. So what it does, it allows that. And ironically enough, there are some turkeys out there that will go absolutely nuts over a mouth diaphragm call, and you can throw a box call, a slate call at them, and they've done nothing. They've just basically, that didn't turn their little brain into high gear.
Right.
But it's at high pitch, and usually it's the hen that's coming off the nest. Now, here's one of the scenarios that's going to happen to you as the season progresses. That hen's going to be going to the nest in the middle of the day. All right. So if you get there in the morning and you got a bird that came in part way and he turned and he walked out, or you heard a hen and she started yelping like, "Where you going, Billy? Where you going?" And he turns around and he leaves with her, don't give up. All right? Don't give up, because what's going to happen is usually somewhere between 9:30 and maybe 11 o'clock, and the sun comes out and gets nice and warm, he's out there strutting, trying to show, "Boy, am I pretty. Look at me, look at me, look at me." And while he's strutting, all of a sudden, she's pecking away in the grass and everything. And when he's not paying attention, she bolts. She runs off like a roadrunner because she goes to her nest to lay another egg. The reason she does that is because if she doesn't sneak off when he's not looking, he'll follow her right to the nest. She'll be sitting on the nest, and he's going to be standing up there strutting for 3.5 hours, letting every predator in the area know where her nest is. So she will sneak off and leave him high and dry. Well, when she leaves him high and dry, he kind of remembers where he heard Sally first thing in the morning. So you can leave. You can leave that hunting area. Go get in your vehicle, go, and come back. You may not start in exactly the same tree, but if you start in a general location from a different area, he's going to think that you moved from where you were first thing in the morning. All right? Now, when we get into a fall situation, all right, now, even in the spring, you're going to start hearing sometimes when you're out there, you're going to hear a kiki run. All right? And a kiki is basically a turkey that's been lost. All right? Or a turkey roosted in one area and the flock roosted in another. All right? I want to get back to where you are. All right? We want to get back together. Now, here's the situation. In the springtime, you're going to hear a kiki that's going to be like this. It's kind of low, kind of deep, all right? In the fall, when you're out there and you got in a flock of birds, the kiki is going to be much different. It's going to be...
Those younger birds.
That's a younger bird. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be doing that in the springtime because you're going to automatically, they're going to look at it like, yeah, it's not happening. Okay?
Can you run that on the call real quick, too?
You, Dad, have the single or double read, and that's why I usually use it on the kiki run right there. It's a shot.
Good.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You practice? No.
But that's why he's been to the Grand Nationals. That's why he's been to the Grand Nationals, you know. But
as much as I love using the Kiki run, the mouth call too, there are some specific calls out there. For example, I've seen Andy Duvall's slate Kiki disc, where it's specifically designed slate call that some people would take a really, really thin striker, and usually it's thin like not like a pencil, but it's like double the pencil but bigger on the top, and they make that same call in there. And I actually did that 4 years ago. I was hunting down over near Lakes Region area, and we stumbled a bunch of turkeys. My dad got tired, so he took a nap in the car. And so I decided, why not? I went down there with my shotgun on my key disc, and I let a... And about 5 minutes later, I'm hearing, yup, 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 yup. And so here come these other bigger turkeys flying up the area. Now, I didn't see any Toms or Jakes the first time we saw them before, so I figured, what the heck? So I took a nice big 15-pound hen. But that was an experience right there that, you practice long enough, you get used to what you're doing, that sometimes you do it by yourself, and it's just...
a big old hen,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was my personal first time I ever harvested a turkey by myself, because, you practice a lot in the woods, and you go out there, and it's just a matter of understanding what the calls are and how they're made. So, and you learn a lot about that experience when you go to conventions like the one in Nashville, because believe me, you go down there and all you ever hear is turkey calls, even waterfowl calls. You hear, it'll be like walking through a farm full of turkeys. Basically.
Everyone's out there freaking ripping on them.
At the Grand Nationals last year, there was 52,000 people who went through the Grand Nationals, and there were a little over 700 vendors that were at the Grand Nationals. It was unbelievable.
And you'll meet some of the most famous hunters down there, like Michael Waddell, Rick White, Eddie Salter, Turkeyman Eddie Salter.
Yeah.
And I met some of the best turkey callers in the nation. I've met Hunter Wallace. I've met Matt Van Kuyse and some of the best callers down there that you're never going to see anywhere elsewhere unless you get to know them. It's an amazing experience, especially when you're from New England, because...
Good for you, dude. That is
It's
an
still
awesome
new.
experience,
Exactly.
man.
It's still new.
Yeah, it's awesome.
At the Grand Nationals, there's turkey calling. There are turkey making competitions. All right, where they make everything from box calls, slate calls. They make turkey calls. They make fancy hand carved.
Yeah, all custom calls.
calls.
Yeah.
Even
calls and
decorative calls.
Right, and you get to bid on them. They're donated. They are. You can get a certain percentage come to you if you sell it at the there. Or what you can say is, listen, I want the money to go to the National Wild Turkey Federation. So if you make a particular call, I bought a call a couple years ago. I paid $45 for it, and the guy that actually made it wanted to buy it back. He said, listen, I'll give you $150 for it. And I said, no, it's all right. I'd like to have it. And it was made out of slated maple, and it had the slated maple striker. I lost it within an hour after I had it. Killed me. You know what I mean? Because it was a match pair. You know what I mean? It's like,
all the time.
I've lost sleep.
Right.
I must have left that striker at the tree. I got an extra one. All
You
right.
should have burned your rind. Everything's good. You just leave everything there.
But Ed and I killed a turkey this year, and Ed and I were driving down the road. I go, come on, you got to help me. He goes, what are you doing? So we're walking up, and lo and behold, he finds another shed antler on the way up to I was sitting right here. I got it all dug up. I could not find my striker for nothing, and I looked down, and between two rocks, I could see the head of it sticking up between two rocks. I went, yeah, I'll never hunt there again. That's my thing. If I do something and I have to go back because there's something stupid I did,
You ain't going back.
It's
Well, you can ship us that address.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But now, Ed, why don't you tell them about one of the new things that you're using here with these stealth shades? These are kind of cool.
Yes, this is a shout out to my buddy Joe King, head of Stealth Shades and Snook Brand Official. When I went to the Nationals last year in 2020, I saw he had this brand called Snud, and it really intrigued me because I thought it was a cool parody of outdoor turkey hunting. So basically, I gave a shout out to him. I talked to him, and he invited me to be a part of Snook Brand. So when I checked out his other business, Stealth Shades, I was intrigued because these are something I've never seen before, and I think this could be the new feature of using for turkey hunting. What it is, these stealth shades, it kind of looks like bug glasses because they have that sharp opening to them.
We can post some pictures of it for you guys, too.
And what this specifically is that it's made of some kind of strong plastic, and you can get whatever color you want on their website from originally Treason Early or Treason Late. But these stealth shades work perfectly for any hunter who wants to go out there turkey hunting. What happens is that there have been scenarios that even when you're wearing a mask or full painted camo, the turkey's eyesight and their perception on their eyesight is so incredible that they've been able to pick up eye movement. And when that happens, the turkey will bolt out of there like going 100 miles an hour. But with these stealth shades, what it is that it allows you to blend in and help keep your vision of your eyesight away from the turkey's eyesight. So while they can't see you, you can see them.
Looking at something towards the ceiling.
And it works perfectly because that way it fits on to your face. You don't have to wear too much camo. And because I wear glasses, and at some point I think I'm going to get contact lenses. And when I do, it'll make it easier for me to wear those shades, because there happened times I've been out hunting when I was a kid with my dad, and there was one time we were hunting up near a field up north of New Hampshire, and I had this bird coming in, but even while I stood perfectly still, he was looking directly right at us with his head turned our direction. All of a sudden, put. I did kill that turkey, but when he saw my eyesight, it would have been game over if I had not reacted fast enough.
Right.
With these stealth shades, it can help you keep your eyesight away from theirs, and because it's like with coyotes trying to ambush the turkey. I mean, they can see almost everything.
Everything.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So
these shades look a lot. If you've ever seen anything with Alaskan sunglasses, the glare in Alaska on all that snow is so bright that it's hard to see. These glasses are form fit to your face. There's a little shield down over the front that cuts down glare, but there's like an 1/8-inch groove around the front, and it lines right up with the center of your pupils, so that when you're looking, this works really well for Ed, because as the turkey gets close and he realizes I'm about to put the final touches on my hunt, he'll take his glasses off, he'll slide the stealth glasses on. The ironic thing, he looks like a giant bug sitting there because he's all dressed up in camo, and he looks like he just.
The weird thing is like you wear sunglasses, and then you're like, all right, I got sunglasses on, and like these things are like this.
Yeah,
I'm holding my fingers over my eyes like a binoculars.
Yeah.
You put those on, and you don't lose much vision.
You don't because
it's weird. Because where your pupils are, like you're saying,
they're completely in line, and even if you're looking down, there's a line that goes down, and they may look kind of funny to be able to see, but if you've been busted once or twice because you're trying, and there are guys, I have friends that can't hunt without wearing a pair of sunglasses, and there's nothing any worse than either those mirrored or something that's shiny, and when a turkey can see color and all of a sudden that glint shows, it's amazing how a bird can turn inside out and be there 1 second and gone the next, but it does teach us, that's part of that humility part that I was talking about, enjoying the turkey hunting. But when you start getting into this and you've got a turkey or two under your belt and you start saying to yourself, I don't need to kill a turkey today, I just want to go out and hear a turkey, and then you start taking a kid or a woman out there, and for the first time Dave gets to see some of the things that we've been enjoying over the years. I can remember one time taking a guy out, and the next thing you know, I look over, and in his hat, he's got a whole bunch of fiddleheads, because he heard that fiddleheads were good. And I went over and I told him, I said, you might not want to eat those. And he goes, why not? And I said, those aren't fiddleheads. They were the wrong ones.
The other ferns?
They were the ferns, And he goes, oh, all right. But, on a different scenario one time, I took this young man whose dad passed away shortly after I took him out. And he died of cancer, and he was feeling pretty bad and pretty low because of what stuff his dad was going through. And he always wanted to be in the military, wanted to be a soldier, so he was always wanting to do something with guns, but his dad wouldn't have anything to do with guns, and I think he probably, with how he was feeling, his family decided, I don't want him to have a gun either, because he may end up committing suicide because he was in such bad shape. Yeah. And I just felt this would be a great time to take the kid out and get something off his mind. So we go out this particular morning, and we got birds gobbling all over the place. And he got to actually see 4 jakes come in and wing beating, banging, slamming, gobbling, hissing, spitting, a turkey fight like you've never seen before the very first time he went out. And he said at the end, when I took him home, he said, Mr. Ash, if I never, ever go again, he said, that was the most incredible day I've ever had. And he thanked me. So I said to him, are you going to be ready in the morning? And he went, huh? And I said, yeah, you want to go again in the morning? He goes, well, yeah. So I picked him up. We go back to where it was. The wind came up, and things had completely changed. The turkeys were on the top of a hill, completely different from where they were before. So I told him, you follow me and step where I step, okay? Because he was kind of clumsy in the woods and making a lot of noise. So as we were walking in, he's doing what I asked him. He's doing good. He's dressed in complete camo from top to bottom. And suddenly, I said to him, I said, oh, can you hear the birds up on the hill? He goes, yeah. I said, now turn around and look behind us. So he looked, and I said, what do you see? He goes, I see everything, because he was looking downhill. I said, all right, now turn around and look up the hill. How much can you see? He says, not very much, because stuff growing in front of me, I can't see as well. I said, lesson number 1 and lesson number 2. He goes, that was cool. So we walked a little further, and he's stepping on rocks and stepping on things, being as quiet as he can. And we got the birds to gobbling again. And I told him, I said, Tim, I want you to go over by that tree and just sit right down right there. And I'm going to get the birds to come over towards you. He goes, okay. This kid turns, takes 3 steps, and there's a bear. The bear turns and starts running up the hill, crashing through the woods, going up the hill, all right? And the bear didn't move for a while because this great big tree, which was Tim, was walking right at him, and the bear looked like a pug dog. He had his head tipped to the right, tipped to the left, tipped to the right, trying to figure out what the hell's this tree doing, right? And finally he realized, oh, that's not a tree, and he ran off. So Tim sits down at the bottom of the tree, and I don't dare to tell him that it's a bear, because first, I don't want to scare the death out of him, and 2, I don't want him shooting at the bear with birdshot, because he doesn't know what the seasons is, because he's never hunted before. This is a mentor type of deal. So we started calling, and we get the birds, and I says, oh, I can see the tail feathers up there. And I told him, I said, oh, the bird that's coming down through the woods is not the same one that we just saw the tail feathers. So we got a couple turkeys coming. The turkey jumps up on a rock. He shoots and kills this turkey. And he jumps up happy as a clam, runs out to the turkey, and grabs it by the legs. And, of course, it's still alive. And it's spinning in circles, and the wings are beating the snot out of him.
Hope he didn't get cut.
No, he didn't get cut because he didn't have big spurs, right? And then he goes and he puts a bird down. And he goes, Mr. Ash, are those bear tracks? And I said, Timmy, the bear was standing right there. And I took him back over from where the bear originally was. And he said, you can never change my life. From this day forward, I went, here's a kid that's never been out in the woods before, went from seeing this 4-bird turkey fight at 20 yards on one day, and then going and walking up dressed in camo within 20 feet of a bear, trying to figure out what he was. And I said, so
him shooting his first
that was
bird.
it, and him shooting his first bird, right? Yeah. And so when you bring that into perspective, when he came home, and then later on when his dad died, he said to me, he said, you know, if my dad hadn't been so sick, I think what I really would have liked to have done is got you and me together and taken my dad out, and just had him hear a bird gobble. And I thought afterwards,
probably would have changed his
mind. What a great way. I mean, it was too late afterwards, you know what I mean? But you know, some of those things, and but the turkey hunting's. There's been some amazing things. Sitting in a blind one day, my decoy is in front of us. I'm trying to teach this kid that grew up, went to school with Ed. His dad doesn't hunt either, and we're sitting in the blind, and he's sitting on a joint compound bucket, and he falls off the bucket, and pretty much takes me out. And I said to him, Adam, what's wrong? He goes, something just knocked me off my bucket. I went, what? Something just knocked me off my bucket. We're talking cloth here. We're talking a piece of cloth between him and the bucket. So I move up towards the window, and I look, and there's a bear leaning against our blind, our doghouse blind.
What?
And I'm going, you're kidding me. He is staring at my decoy, moving back and forth. So now this bear, he's probably a 2-year-old, all right, 125, 130 pounds, is trying to put the sneak on my decoy. All right. And I said,
they'll never catch me.
And, right? And I said to him, I said, Adam, move your foot. He goes, okay, what are you going to do? And I kicked through the cloth, and I kicked the bear in the rump. He jumps up, and he runs off, and he is so scared that something just touched him that his front legs are now behind his back legs.
He's trucking.
He is trucking through there, and Adam goes, oh, my God, that was awesome. He goes, I know where I'm going to hunt this year. I said, well, he may not be here. But as we sat there, I'm giving him the what for and what was going on and how the bear probably just came out of hibernation and there's no food and he's looking for the easiest, quickest
It's
meal.
probably his first year on his own,
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
big time.
Exactly. And at this point, he said, Mr. Ash, is that a turkey strutting? I didn't hear. I didn't hear. What are you hearing? He goes, oh. And I went, no, turkeys are going to hear.
No, it's just a sow.
You know, it's just a sound.
sow.
It's just a
Yeah.
sound, right? So he said, it's right here. It's right here. I reached back over my shoulder and I unzipped the pack of the doorway about 3 inches. I had 2 more bears. I had a big sow and another yearling
geez.
cub.
Another cub.
Right? So we were evidently right on top of their den. We were really, there was a big brush pile, and I sat up on the other side of the brush pile. So evidently we were
Hide
right
your
there.
candy.
Yeah, hide your candy. Because like, well, if we can't eat turkey, these guys look good. You know? And ironically enough, it didn't scare him. But I told him, I said, this is the thing. I've never found a shed antler. He finds 2. I go this, he does that. My son is so stinking lucky that one day we're out fishing underneath this bridge going up towards Waterville Valley. He says, Dad, hold my pole. Hold your own pole. Why do I want to hold your pole? So I go in and hold the pole. He reaches down in the water and comes up with a 1904 silver dollar. Now, what the hell's the chances of that?
Get out of here.
1904.
You know what I mean? But it's those things that we do when we're outside.
Yeah.
And those times when you take your son or your daughter, or your neighbor's kid,
It's all about
and
the
they go out,
experience. It ain't
the
really about
experience, whether it
It's
be
the
a moose
experience.
calf walking up to you, or it could be any number of different things. I've had one instance. The scariest thing I ever had in my life is sitting in my blind, and I could hear something rubbing against one side, and I look over thinking chipmunk, 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 right? All of a sudden, this nose comes snooping underneath the bottom. I went, that's not a chipmunk, big black nose. It was a nice skunk, and this skunk had a
Oh,
great.
shit.
He was more white than he was black. Now he's inside the blind along with me. I'm thinking, okay, bud, how do you get out of this, right? So instead, what I just did was I just pushed on the left-hand side and brought the right-hand side up off the ground about a foot so he could walk out from underneath the bottom, and he just walked away. Oh, thank you, Lord. That was
It could have been a blowout.
that could have been a blowout big time, But it's things like that, Come home naked and going, what happened? Yeah, you don't want to know.
Yeah,
Don't go out to the car. It smells like crap.
it's been a lot.
Yeah.
We're getting tight on time here, but
Can
you
we
wouldn't
go
believe
through
it,
some
but,
I want to leave off with some calling. So
calling and
tournament
some
calling,
shout
whatever
outs.
you want to do. Go through some.
You want to blow out a sequence for us?
One of the calls that I did a couple years ago, and the first time I tried it, and it was hard for me to understand at first because I never heard of it. And then last year in 2020, I did a great job with this call, and it was the gobbler yelp, or the Jake yelp, what you like to call it. And what it is that all turkeys yelp. And, of course, the hens are the ones that are yelping the most. But at times when either a Jake is still growing and he has a lot to learn, or if a gobbler is in the fall or spring, he'll try to get anyone's attention. There have been times where, especially in the fall, when a Jake is by itself or it's trying to get other birds' attention, he'll do a deeper tone yelp than your average hen, like a yelp, 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 yelp. And one of the calls that I don't have with me today, but I do recommend giving it a try, Mr. Wingbone's calls as well. He has the Gray Ghost. It's an aluminum call that he has over walnut, and what I personally like to use is an acrylic call, and it's basically a clear dowel attached to the tip of the striker top, and what it does is it brings that deep dark tone to it, and sometimes it's inconsistent, but most of the time it's really slow. It's not as fast cadence as it is for the hen yelping. So that's when I basically take a double slate call, and a clear acrylic call, and you just want to go, yeah, 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 yeah. And that's one of the things I was going to mention as well, is that that was another theory that, aside from using the spit and drum or a gobble call, some people will often use a Jake yelp.
Shake yelp.
Jake yelp
see,
to get
Bring in one of those toms, get
bring in
looking,
one of those toms
beat up
because-
one of those birds. Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you give us any?
Yeah, because basically what he'll do is that he'll get triggered by that Jake yelp because, I mean, for one, it sounds similar to a hen yelp, and the second is that, given how it's deeper and it sounds like a Jake, that's another thing that
So
will trigger
this
him
is
the most.
a 1-year-old bird.
Yeah,
and
he's like the teenager who's got a cocky attitude, but here, go ahead. And when nothing else has worked, and it seems like you've run out of everything in your pocket, that sometimes can be the frosting on the cake. Because what happens is
How would you describe that call? It's like a longer hen yelp.
Longer
essentially.
hen-
It's a deeper
long-
and a shorter hen yelp, right? Like, because I always recommend an
Yeah,
acrylic
shorter.
striker.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And basically you want to sound as deep as possible, and you don't want to go. Sometimes you can go a little
Center
faster.
of the call? Is it like a position of the call?
Mostly
Position
on
of
the
slate?
edge or in the middle, kind of like right here in the middle. I go.
Now, I've heard people go and hear that and go, God, the guy's not doing a very good call because it's not that high pitched. That's a lousy hen call. It's not a hen call. They
It's a
just don't
Jake
know
yelp.
what it is.
Well, she's a
See
guy,
what I mean?
so
So
Well, she's a guy.
yeah, she's a guy.
Yeah.
Good one, Ed. That's a really good one. Yeah. All right, Eddie. 2 points on that one. But that's the type of call that when you do that, you're given a step up from other hunters that haven't heard it before.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Locator call.
Pileated woodpecker worked. great.
Pileated woodpeckers. It's amazing
Hammer.
how sometimes
Yeah.
that'll work. Peacock with a. What the hell is that? We don't have any peacocks. No, but what happens? They'll gobble back
They
just
don't know.
because they don't
No.
know.
it's
Right.
basically a trigger noise.
Yeah.
Trigger
Yeah.
noise.
Trigger
all it
noise.
is.
Yep. Yep. Now,
And-
one of the things that also Ed's been doing with the Kiki disc, and I got to give a lot of people warning on this. Woodhaven makes a disc. All right, it's about a 1/4 inch thick, and it's got aluminum on top, and it is a real dense, dark material. It's $100, and you can get the sweetest, highest Kiki on it. All right, but you got to find the right spot. The day that we were down there at Woodhaven at the Nationals, the boy that was doing it was putting so much pressure on his finger on the end of the striker to be able to make it that Kiki that he could only do it for a little while. Then he had to give it a rest, all right? But when he would go out there and take that call and start with that and hitting that, and hitting that spot, there were guys flocking with $100 bills to buy one because they'd never heard one before. But
Really?
it became a $100 boat anchor because they could spend the rest of their life, if they couldn't find that spot in the right striker, it didn't Kiki.
Yeah.
All right, it didn't
It
Kiki.
just comes with experience.
It comes
and
with
practice.
experience. Okay,
Exactly.
Just practice,
So-
straight practice. which
Right.
I'm guessing.
So,
and you've
I
been
guess
doing
what
that-
we're trying to
that's
get at-
nothing but competition calling is straight
Oh, yeah.
practice.
Yeah, I guess what we're
That
trying to
and
get
the
at
cookies
right
and the
now is
falsies.
Yes.
we don't need all of these things to kill a turkey. Pick out one thing that works good for you, whether it be a slate call, box call, mouth diaphragm call, and practice.
Yeah.
However, don't practice on turkeys.
Right.
Practice,
All right.
practice in your
Exactly.
car.
Practice in your car.
Practice
You know?
in the car, your
Yep.
basement, the gym,
Like
the shower.
I taught a guy that was a state trooper to do the spit and drum, and he called me up one day and he goes, "I wouldn't have killed the turkey today if you hadn't shown me the spit and drum." But he's driving down the interstate, on duty. Records it. I sound pretty good. You know what I mean? And he got it. And what happened was when the bird came in, he tried everything, been working the bird for almost 2 hours. And then finally he just was going to give up on it. And then he said, "Oh, I remember Ed told me about that spit and drum." And he tried it. The bird came in and he was sitting in a blind and the bird actually thought the Jake was on the other side of the blind. He went to the right, he went to the left. He's trying to figure out, looking like that blind was a rock. It's here, but I can't see it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to kick his butt as soon as I do. He was wound up for bears. And up until then, he was just a turkey looking for a hen. All right. So it's worth the shot, but it's not a loud call, and it's a close-up call. It's going to be something that when a bird's usually within 25 or 30 yards is when you're going to actually be able to hear that spit drum. All right. And the reason they get all fired up for it is because why he's been doing all the gobbling and he's been talking to the hen that's been talking back to him. All of a sudden he thinks some pimple-nosed teenager is going to come in and steal his girlfriend.
Right.
And I'm going to go kick his butt. I'm not going to be outdone by some little punk that's just trying to steal my girl. And that could be the finishing touches on your thing, you know. So it's stuff like that that does it. We've also made turkey calls ourselves out of different things. Ed has a turkey shell, a turtle shell at the house that I took a piece of slate and actually cut it with a chisel, sanded it, and it gets kiki down in one corner. You hold it over here, and you put the striker in here, and you can get a nice Jake yelp. And because it's got so many corners and so many turns, where the
That's
epoxy
fucking
up
awesome.
in here, where the epoxy is, will be a different sound in here. And sometimes it's about the striker. Sometimes it's a nice wood striker. Other times it might be an acrylic striker.
Exactly.
Aluminum. I've had guys that'll go and take an arrow and fill us in and do it. Some you'll do things that won't make any noise at all. You know what I mean?
right.
But when you do it, the other thing he does is wing bone calls. I make wing bone calls. That's taking the 3 bones out of the wings, and it's a sucking sound. And I wish I'd brought one, but you suck in.
I've seen those,
instead of
yeah.
blow
Oh, yeah.
out. You know
It's
what I
a
mean?
different tone,
So-
though.
Yeah,
different
it's
tone.
something
different.
Oh
different.
yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes my buddy Edwin Shirts at one point when I first started calling with their company, he gave me I can't remember what it was called, but he gave me a
Cog
shell,
A cog shell.
a cog shell,
And
a
he
cog
was doing,
shell,
at competition, he had a cog shell in his hand doing a kiki on the inside of a cog shell.
or cluck and purr
no,
too.
Yeah, no way.
Fucking perp.
Doing cluck and purr with a cog shell and
I'm going to Wells tomorrow.
Oyster.
and he just sand it with
cog on the
sandpaper
beach.
as long as
Yeah.
it's cleaned
Yeah.
out properly. So,
Yep.
but that's just the magic of it. And when I went to Grand Nationals in the call making competition, you'll see decorated calls that look like the combination between going to Hobby Lobby and combining that with turkey calls, and it's just you'll be amazed by the amount of creativity people have. I've seen one where a guy literally made a treasure chest based turkey call as seashells and all kinds of art and work, and it's astounding. I mean,
Yeah.
without a doubt, you'll be amazed by how much money they could be worth in the future.
I love it.
Yeah, one of the guys last time that we were there did a casket, all right, with the Tom's skull and everything completely bleached out, laying in the casket, and it was all wood burn with leaves and decoration and all the things on it, and he had almost 300 hours in it. And
Holy smokes.
I think it went for $700, something like that.
Wow.
But it's
300 hours?
but 300 hours.
Wow.
But the thing is when he signs it, and I'll give you guys the same thing. If you meet anybody, whether it be someone like Ed that makes a call for you or does something, have them put their name on it and the date.
Yeah.
You know,
Because
and
at
ironically,
some point it's going to be something.
it may be
Yeah,
right
it could
when
be.
that you never know how long that guy's
Yeah.
going to live. When we were the first year that Ed competed at the Grand Nationals, I made him a call that was like 69, all right, shape 9, all right.
Yeah.
If you hold one end in the upper part in between your fingers, that would leave the tail of it down along the top part of your hand. You could get the kiki at the corner up here. You turn it around and you do the other side, and you could get some wicked yelps out of it, right?
It's so wild.
I'm
It's
not going
it's
to
a
tell you
different
what I made
world.
this out of. but
It's a
this-
different world.
Right. I'm not going to tell you what this made out of, but what happened was he was showing Michael Waddell one day, and he had Michael Waddell sign it on the back, right?
That's awesome.
So a little later on, he's walking along and he's doing this and he's showing, and all of a sudden, Jimmy Primos comes walking over to him and he says, "Young man, what is that?" And he goes, "This is a call I just used in my competition." And he starts doing this and doing all the calls. He goes, "What's that made out of?" He goes, "I'm sorry, I can't tell you." He goes, "I think you can tell me because he's a young guy. I'm going to get the information out of him." And he goes, "Yeah, I really can't tell you." Michael Waddell signed it, though. Jimmy just turned and walked away. Because they were looking, that's how they find their niche. That's how they find next year's product line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They find something that works, something that somebody's doing,
Through
some
someone
gimmick.
else.
And he was bound and determined a few years ago to buy that HS strut. What was it?
Panhandler.
No, not to, it was
Squealing Hen?
Squealing Hen. And I told him that doesn't work. He goes, "What do you mean?" I watched the video. I said they had a guy sitting down doing a Squealing Hen, and then some turkeys were coming across the field. And they took a picture of these turkeys. They put the two together. You go out there that Squealing Hen in New Hampshire, and you cut it loose
No,
with it,
New
and that
Hampshire,
turkey
yeah.
is going to be going 75 miles an
Something's
hour in
getting
the other
eaten.
direction. Okay, it might work in Missouri in a big cornfield someplace.
Yeah.
But the bottom line, it was more of a gimmick than a real
Yeah.
piece
You're
of
gonna go out there
cement
and test
right there.
it.
You're going to
Yeah.
go. You know what I mean? But it's those things that we fall into that trap. You know,
Yeah.
and my
It's-
best friend.
It's fun to do it sometimes.
Right.
you
My
know?
best friend gave me the best thing. He said, when you go and you buy a fishing lure that looks like a little small perch and you give $12 for it, is that fish going to eat a worm? I mean, he goes,
You can
know
dig
what
them up
it
in the
is?
background.
You know what it
In
is?
the backyard.
You're selling this because the fisherman likes the picture of the fish,
Yeah.
not the fish. You know what I mean? I went, yeah,
That's
you're right.
so true.
You're exactly. That's
It's
exactly
true.
it. We
Great
buy by
point.
what's on site. You know,
Great point.
And you know, like as I said, the Squealing Hen was one of those things that was a gimmick that didn't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Big time,
and so buying some of those and falling into some of those traps.
And sometimes you can't adapt. Like it does have, it does sound like a coyote whimper at times,
Yeah.
or a coyote howl when I use it. Either that or an elk bugle. And sometimes some people will try to, not adapt, but try to work the two together into a different call.
Yeah, make a locator call out of it rather than
Yeah.
if they know it's not gonna, it's not gonna work. Call somebody in.
Right.
You know.
We're getting ready to wrap up here. Can you go through a sequence if you were at a calling competition? Can you just run through
Something small.
something small? Yeah. Let's,
Oh, yeah, sure.
Basically, what you do when you're at the competition, the day of the competition, you have no idea what the calls are going to be.
Oh,
They
so they
they
give
tell
you.
you.
So
That you don't
so
have
you
any
don't have
idea.
Oh, okay.
You have no idea what the call is going to be. So what happens is the calling competition is going to start at 1. Okay? At 12 o'clock, they post. It's going to be a fly down cackle. It's going to be a fighting purr. It's going to be the yelp of an excited hen, right? And they give you that. And then sometimes it'll be the caller's best call. So you can use whatever you want for
okay.
a call.
So
on
can
that
we
one.
do that? Exactly
Right.
what you just said.
You know?
So let's start off.
You know, so
call them out. Yeah.
why don't you explain what
Go
the
ahead.
first
Call
call
out.
is?
Call,
All right.
call out to him.
All right. So let's say the first one. Let's do a fighting purr. How do you do a fighting purr? Now, this is a call. A fighting purr is when the Jakes and the Toms or the Jakes fighting for dominance will start doing this fight. This is an incredible call. When you get a bird that's way out there and he won't come in, he won't do anything. This fighting purr makes him think that I'm going to run over there. It's like rattling deer antlers. This is the same thing as rattling deer antlers. But this is a fighting purr. All right. That was done with 1 striker. Now do this like you've done it before at the competition with 2. Check this out.
So this is a 2-striker.
2 striker.
Record this real quick. So this is double striker here.
He's using 2 strikers
real quick, hang
and
on.
holding the call between
On
his
his
knees.
lap.
Yeah, in his lap.
Jeez.
Tell me if that,
That
doesn't
sounds
get a turn.
beautiful.
Yeah, that is awesome.
It's pretty.
All right, and that's what he did at the competition.
That
That's
sounds
what brought
pretty.
him in big points. Because
Really?
people
People
what a
weren't
difference!
doing that.
What a difference it makes between 2 strikers trying to sound like 2 separate birds.
That sounds great.
You know what I mean?
That sounds great.
You know.
Big time.
All right. So now do an excited yelp of a hen.
And this is one of the most popular calls I've used in the competition. It's personally one of my best calls I use out there for both turkey hunting and calling because, let's face it, you're going to be out there. You're going to get the turkey's attention. You want that gobbler to feel excited, a little amped up. So this is how I normally do it.
Now that's on a pot call. A mouth diaphragm call. Was that excited? No. But when you start mixing the two of them so that when you've got one in your mouth and you're doing that and you're doing the other one with a pot call, now you sound like two hens together in an area. I'm telling you, they flip out over that. Because if you can learn to use a mouth call and the pot call or a slate call, now all of a sudden you're not just one turkey, you're beginning to be part of a flock.
I brought in some birds like that just by using two hen calls together, a mouth call, diaphragm call, and a pot call.
Yeah.
And bringing the hen to me.
Right.
The hen's thinking, oh, what's going on over there? And bringing that big old bird right behind her.
Right. Okay.
I would try the cluck and purr as well.
Do a cluck and purr. All right. Now the cluck and purr is something that's kind of quiet. It's a close-up call. This is a great call to finish when the birds are getting fairly close. It's a call that you would hear for birds feeding. They're feeding in the leaves. Now, in the morning after you've done a fly-down cackle, right, and he's gobbled back to that, if you do this call and then take a stick and start rustling up the leaves, and if he gobbles twice, put the third ace on the table.
He's coming in.
Because he's coming in. Yeah. Now he thinks that you found a nice little place to find some worms, some little buds and stuff, and he's heard you.
Feeding.
Yeah, that's like, yeah. So, anything else you want to try, Ed, for fly down cackle or?
And don't forget the adult hen assembly call.
Go ahead with this. This call is basically in the fall. When you're out hunting and you see a bunch of birds in a field or along a tote road or something of that nature, what you want to do is you don't want to sneak up on them. Instead, what you want to do is hold your gun over your head or your arms out to the side and running at them and screaming bloody murder, and you want the birds to fly in 15 different directions, all right? Wherever they were when they flew away, sit down in that area, and then you're going to start with that kiki run that we were talking about. All right, and what's going to happen is the hen's going to hear you along with everybody else probably 10 minutes after that's all happened, 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you start giving a bird to answer you back, this is working out good. The birds will start coming in. Now, if you start hearing this is going to be a hen assembly call, the best thing that my suggestion is you either get between the turkeys coming in and set up, or you get up and you go run her off wherever she's gulping from, and then you sit there and you start calling with a kiki. That's a long series of calls right there that you don't usually hear during most of the year, simply because I'm over here. Where are you?
Just like almost like just a long span of a yelp.
Yeah, long span of a yelp, similar to that. Yeah, I'm just letting them know that I'm over here.
Hen and that she's trying to get all the other turkeys together.
Because remember, the day before or just hours before that, they were all together in one big group. And the turkeys in the fall at. There's safety in numbers. There's a lot more eyes to look at danger. There's safety in numbers. And to be honest with you, I really haven't been away from my mom yet. So
right.
Yeah. They're so close.
Yeah.
All right.
So, that call also works real well for adult birds. I've had a friend of mine that when we used to hunt together, deer hunting, would go, and I taught him to do the kiki, right? And we were down to Connecticut bow hunting one time, and I heard, damn, Steve's getting better.
Wrong.
And I whistled back at the same thing, and then around this great big giant boulder full of great big adult longbeards come around the corner scared the snot out of me. It wasn't Steve.
That's funny. All right, we're about at our time limit, I guess.
Let's give some, let you do your shout-outs.
Yeah.
Give whoever you want a shout-out, whatever.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Gus Snood.
Yes, Stump Brand Official. It's one of the new brands of turkey hunters out there. Stump Brand Official is where my buddy Joe King is representing Stump Brand. It's basically representation of the snood on the face. And when you go turkey hunting, when you aim below the neck, you can always still shoot them in the snood. It's a great apparel. Go and check it out on Instagram, Facebook, and on their website, snowbrand.com. I also want to give a shout-out to my buddy Edwin Shirts and Mark Watterson for their amazing calls and Mr. Wingbones calls, where they can help us turn our hunt around, hopefully this spring when we go out to do some hunting this spring in New Hampshire. I also want to give a great shout-out to Alpine Bresser for the amazing optics and scopes that they produce. They do a great job. Rick White is one of the main pro staff. You can always contact him with Alpine Bresser. And I'm hoping this spring is going to be a great turkey hunting experience for everybody out there. It's going to be a pretty good spring this year, so I wish everybody luck.
We'd love to connect with you guys later on this season just to see how you guys' season is doing and seeing what tactics you're using are working for you this year. And
Yeah. Well, maybe you'll have to invite us over to Maine so we know how to go over there.
Let's do it.
get some film down. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm all game.
Where can people find you on social media?
You can contact me at Instagram, 603 Turkey Maniac. You can also check us out on MrWingbonesCalls.com as well as Mr. Wingbones Official on Instagram. And I also want to give another shout out to Richard Valley for the amazing mouth calls he produces. He does a great job with those. So, yeah, be sure to check us out on Live Free and Hunt on Instagram. And check me out at 603 Turkey Maniac. If you have any more questions on the calls we produce and what we make with Mr. Wingbones calls and running game calls, just give us a shout out and a quote, and we'll get back to you.
Awesome.
Good deal.
Hey, we appreciate you guys coming down. We had a blast. This has just been a great time. We love meeting new people and just
Great.
spreading the word of hunting.
There you go. That's
what it's all about.
That's
All
what
right. Let's send it.
Let's
well,
send it.
like
See
we said
ya.
before, pass it on.
Pass it on.
Pass it on.
Yeah, baby, when we're together, it's like Vegas times 3. But in the morning, I'll know better. 'Cause you're so bad for me. Just like a sip of wine leads me to drink. You're my gateway drug. I'm starting to think it's gonna take much more than just 12 steps. So call Betty Ford, call Dr. Drew. Save me a bed, 'cause in a month or two I wanna quit you, girl, just not yet. Yeah, baby, when we're together, you're the only drug I need. But in the morning I'll know better. 'Cause you're so bad for me. Barreling down the road past these city lights, you got your hands on the wheel, a look in your eye. I ask myself, is it time to slow down? But the night's still young, we're full of gas. Credit cards in my pocket with some limit left. And we got friends in the next town. Yeah, baby, when we're together, it's like Vegas times 3. But in the morning I'll know better. 'Cause you're so bad for me. Yeah, oh baby, when we're together, it's like Vegas times 3. But in the morning I'll know better. 'Cause you're so bad for me. Oh, 'cause you're so bad for me. 'Cause you're so bad.